Hello, Bond fans, and welcome to this very special live stream. Now, you may be thinking, hang on a minute, I did this hangout a while ago. Well, yes and no. Okay, I did this sort of hangout about a month ago or so with Jack McCulloch on the new James Bond film, No Time to Die. But here, friend, Alan Caylow, and at the time, Alan wasn't able to join us because he hadn't got StreamYard yet. But we're coming to you live from StreamYard, and I wanted to let Alan have a chance to say what he wanted to say about the new movie. So we are here again to talk about No Time to Die. All the general news.
Hello.
Oh, hello, Alan. And just our general thoughts and feelings on how things have gone, because obviously the movie is coming out. The production is finished. They're into post-production now, so we have plenty more to talk about than we did at the start of the year. So I think the first things first.
Definitely.
Let's talk about let's start from the beginning. So the pre-production problems. Obviously, in 2017, it was announced that Daniel Craig, he announced himself that he would be returning for one more movie as James Bond. It was obviously 2 years since Spectre. We were all unsure if he was ever going to return by that point, but I was very happy he was going to come back. And then Danny Boyle was hired to direct the movie. So, and apparently, the reason for his departure was the fact that he had creative differences over the end of the movie in regards to James Bond himself. Apparently, or allegedly, there was a rumor that Bond was going to be killed off. And I don't know whether it was him that put it to the producers or the other way around, but they seemed to fall out and he just decided to leave. And that seemed to cause a lot of problems with the production. Alan, what was your initial thoughts about this when you first heard about Danny Boyle leaving the production?
I was disappointed because I was very interested to see what Danny Boyle could bring to the film. But yeah, apparently he had a big dispute with the producers about the ending of the movie. I don't consider this a spoiler because we're talking about this earlier script for the movie. It may not necessarily be the final script, but apparently in the initial script, I believe it was reported that Bond was going to die at the end of the movie, which hopefully will not happen. Okay, so this is not necessarily a spoiler. The movie's not even out yet. We don't know what the genuine ending is going to be.
Yeah, I mean, and now the fact is the title of the movie is No Time to Die. So to have Bond die would kind of be stupid, really.
Exactly. But what was reported, let me make that clear. What was reported at the time was that Danny Boyle left because he had a dispute with the producers involving that initial script, that apparently James Bond died at the end of the movie. And Danny Boyle said, I don't want to be the director responsible for killing off James Bond. So that's it. I'm out of here. And that was what was reported. So, but I mean, Danny Boyle, I mean, I think he's a talented director, and, it was disappointing for him to walk away. I know Daniel Craig really liked him and was looking forward to working with him. But, if what was reported is true, I don't really blame Danny Boyle for walking away. If I'd been in his position, I wouldn't want to be the director directing the Bond film where Bond dies. But let's make this clear. We don't know for a fact that Bond is going to die at the end of the movie, and I sincerely hope he doesn't. That's going to piss me off no end if they do that. But I'm just saying, I don't blame Danny Boyle leaving if he had an issue with the ending of the script. So it's disappointing, but it's understandable. And once again, Bond hopefully will not actually bite it at the end of the movie. He better not. I'll be pissed. Yeah.
I mean, if he does, then yeah, exactly. Sorry to interrupt. If he does bite it at the end, then why would you call the film No Time to Die? It'd be silly. It'd be silly to do that.
Exactly. Yeah.
I mean, also the fact is, then very quickly they found a replacement in Cary Fukunaga, who I believe, is the first American director of the series. I mean, I think he's done stuff like True Detective and a couple of other films like Beasts of No Nation, a couple of like really artsy sort of work, films and TV shows. Like, so an interesting choice. I mean, not. I mean, I hadn't really heard of him until he was announced, but I'm curious to know if this guy has a talent for directing. I mean, judging from the footage in the Jamaica video, it looks like he does. But I mean, what do you think? Like, first impressions of Cary Fukunaga?
Well, I mean, I've heard the name before. I mean, I think he's definitely got some impressive work under his belt, and in fact, I wouldn't mind looking him up right now, just to see what other stuff he's done. If you'll give me a moment to look him up, but I'm willing to give him a chance. I mean, he's obviously very enthusiastic about directing this film, and is very excited to bring to the table what he can bring to James Bond. Let's see, I'm looking him up right now. Yes, he is American. Says American filmmaker and television director. So let's see, what are his feature films? Let's see, Wikipedia mentions 3 of them. I don't think I've seen any of these movies. Let's see, a feature film, Sin Nombre, which came out in 2009. Sin Nombre, never heard of it, never seen it. Then he did a film version of Jane Eyre, which again I haven't seen that, and then he has another film which came out in 2015 called Beasts of No Nation, which again I have not seen. And then Wikipedia mentions his television work, and yes, he directed the first season of the show True Detective, which I've never seen. So I've heard the name, and he definitely has some good work under his belt, but I'm just not familiar with his work, so I can only take it on faith that he's up for the task of directing James Bond and that he will do a good job. I'm just going to take a leap of faith that he knows what he's doing, and he's going to deliver the goods for No Time to Die.
Yeah, hopefully. I mean, he has said that in that Jamaica live event, which we will talk about shortly, he has said that Craig was his favorite Bond, and he had enjoyed Daniel Craig's run of films up to that point. Obviously, the first 4 Craig movies. So he was very much keen on keeping with tradition, and he realizes, I think he knows that there is a continuous story in Craig's era. So I think they've made a point of trying to wrap his story up, so that this film will continue after Spectre, and it will wrap up the story arcs that are set up in Casino Royale. Cary has said that himself, and also all of the news about cast and stuff that we've heard about does allude to the fact that yes, this will be a continuation of Spectre, and hopefully a great conclusion, because this is Daniel Craig has said this is his 5th and final movie. So no pressure, Cary, no pressure. But I think once we heard Cary Fukunaga was the new director, a lot of people were kind of like, oh, I don't really know who he is. So despite some of his work, he doesn't seem to have made a big name for himself. So I think by doing this movie, if it turns out great, he's going to be offered so much work. And hopefully, if all goes well, they might even ask him to direct Bond 26. So you never know. I mean, Sam Mendes had the same thing with Skyfall. I mean, no one knew much about Sam Mendes until Skyfall. And Skyfall was an absolute masterpiece. It was a great Bond movie, and it was the 50th anniversary. And then he came back and did Spectre. So yes.
Yeah. Actually, I think he was known for one thing. It was a big one, though. I think he directed the movie American Beauty, which won the Oscar for Best Picture, if memory serves me right. So that's the one thing that people would know Sam Mendes before he directed Skyfall. But it could be that they know him best now, Skyfall and Spectre. Yeah,
I totally forgot about that. I've never actually seen American Beauty, but it definitely is a critically acclaimed film. I must watch it and review it. And actually, speaking of Sam Mendes, very briefly, he's got a film coming out in January, which is a movie about World War I think, called 1917. So I will go and see that. I think that looks really good, actually. So I'll go and give that a watch.
I definitely want to see that. Yeah, that looks good.
But I think the biggest sort of things to talk about are the pre-production problems, because once, even like when Cary Fukunaga was hired, there were still problems. I mean, I was concerned because all I kept hearing was the script is being rewritten. The script was kept being rewritten. They kept bringing in new writers. Like originally, Neil Purvis and Robert Wade weren't going to write this film, and then they were. Danny Boyle had his own writers, and then they left with him, and then Cary Fukunaga brought on Scott Z. Burns. I mean, there's just so many writers for this film. It sounded like it was a mess, but I mean, it sounds as though they were just really struggling to get it right. And of course, Daniel Craig insisting on Phoebe Waller-Bridge to come and write the script, or at least spice up the script, not for the sake of feminism, but just for the sake of because of her writing. And he's made that clear. He's not done it as a thing of Bond goes woke. And Waller-Bridge has said so. She says she's not trying to make a woke Bond. She's trying to write the female roles better. She's trying to make them less sexualized and more important to the story. And I'm okay with that. And she has even said herself in regards to the female Bond that doesn't work. But we'll get to the female Bond later. After sort of the writing debacle, we didn't hear very much until April. Like April this year, there was that really crappy Bond. It was called the Bond 25 reveal, but honestly, what did it reveal? Virtually nothing. We spoke about this just before we went on air. I was really disgusted by that live stream. It was just awful. I mean, for one thing, like you said, it didn't reveal anything other than the cast, half of which we already knew. Secondly, it was just a stupid tour of Jamaica and explaining about the links to Dr. No and all of that. Like, we know that already. And then thirdly, in the question round, like when Daniel Craig was speaking, the sound wasn't working. So whoever was the sound operator for that should have been fired. I mean, it was really bad. And they didn't have time for enough questions. It was 20 minutes of virtually nothing, and they didn't reveal the title as well, which at the time really annoyed me. Talk us through your initial reaction of that. Also, if you want to talk about the writers and the script as well, then feel free. Sorry, I sort of jumped ahead of it.
That's fine. Well, regarding the script, I mean, yeah, it went through quite a few different screenwriters, and then Daniel Craig, by his request, he brought on Phoebe Waller-Bridge. I guess you know her best for the show Fleabag, which I've never seen, but I know she's hugely popular on that show. And she also appeared sort of as the feminist robot in Solo, a Star Wars story, even though that was a motion capture performance. You heard her voice, and she was doing the motion capture performance, but you saw a robot there instead of seeing Phoebe Waller-Bridge. And you can say whatever you want about the feminist robot she was playing, but
and apparently her character and Lando basically had sex or a relationship of sorts.
Oh, I don't that for a second. I think that's all bullshit. Whatever was reported in the press. No. Come on. I mean, they had a friendship, certainly.
Well, it was implied that she had feelings for Lando, and that Lando was like a pansexual. Like it was so stupid. It didn't need to be there at all.
Yeah, that was just silly. But I will say her performance was good. You can say what you want about the character of the robot she was playing, but her performance in it was very good, and I was also impressed with the motion capture work on that film. But that really is the only thing that I personally have seen Phoebe Waller-Bridge really was playing the robot in Solo. But I know she's well renowned as a writer as well as an actress. And Daniel Craig is a big fan of hers, and he, by his request, he brought her on board just to polish the script, and as you say, maybe strengthen the female characters. And yeah, she is on record saying that Bond doesn't have to change with the times regarding his attitudes towards women. I mean, he's James Bond. He is the way that he is. But although when the movie begins, I mean, we know he's already in a serious romantic relationship with Madeline, played by Leia Sadu. But you know, his reputation of being a misogynist, certainly prior to meeting Madeline.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's the way Bond is. I mean, yeah, he's had romantic relationships. I mean, yeah, he was romantic with Vesper. Though that one didn't last, because sadly she died in that. And then going with his marriage to Tracy, he was married for what, just a few hours with Tracy before she got killed. That's something that seems to follow Bond around. I mean, he can fall in lust with women all he wants, but if he ever falls in genuine love with a woman, she dies. So I'm really shaking in my boots about what's happening. I don't want her to die, but I wouldn't be surprised if that happens. But hopefully not. I don't know. We haven't seen them yet, but hopefully not, because I like Madeline and I like her relationship with Bond. But we'll see. But the point being is that Bond overall has a reputation of being a misogynist, and I'm glad that Phoebe Waller-Bridge understands that and isn't trying to turn Bond woke, which I don't think would work at all if she did that. But if she wants to polish off the female characters and make them stronger, hey, that's fine with me. And Daniel likes her and respects her, so I will respect that.
Yeah.
And I will
Just to say, we will talk about Lashana Lynch after we discuss the Jamaica reveal, should we say? Because the Lashana Lynch thing will take up a bit of time, I reckon.
Yes, it will. Yes, it will. Let's see. You also asked me about that initial press announcement about the movie. Yeah, that was a big disappointment. As you said, they didn't have a title yet. They're like, oh, we don't have a title yet. Yeah, well, you know, sometimes we start shooting these Bond movies and we don't have a title yet.
Well, that was a lot of bollocks. Like, Michael G. Wilson lied. Because I swear, at least the past, 3 movies or 4 movies, they've always announced the title just before they go into production. Skyfall, Quantum of Solace, Casino Royale, even probably some of the Brosnan ones as well. Like, that's a lie. Why lie about it? You know, just be honest and say, look, we haven't figured out the title yet. We're still working it out. I would prefer a bit more honesty. That's all. That's what annoyed me, is that Michael G. Wilson lied. Not the fact that they didn't have the title, but because I knew we would get the title eventually. But that just pissed me off. I don't know about you, but that really pissed me off.
Yeah, no, it pissed me off too. I mean, I think the last Bond movie that they started shooting without a title was Tomorrow Never Dies, when Pierce Brosnan was still playing Bond. But I think that one started without a title, and then they released the title Tomorrow Never Dies like maybe a month or 2 before the trailer premiered. But all the other movies, from World Is Not Enough through Spectre, all the titles were announced in advance before the shooting of the film. So I don't know, that is kind of silly, you know, because obviously the fans want to know the title, and you didn't have a title to give us. I mean, yeah, that was pretty disappointing. I mean, with Tomorrow Never Dies, you can be a little forgiving because I don't think YouTube existed yet, and some other forms of social media yet. So I guess we can forgive. But now that social media is everywhere, I mean, yeah, we wanted a title and they didn't have one. And yeah, it was basically just a tour of Jamaica, really. I mean, big whoop, and how it connects to the first Dr. No, whoopee, we already know that. And they said, oh, we asked the Bond fans out there to submit questions to ask the cast, and they plucked one stupid question from some random fan, and they asked Daniel Craig what's his favorite Bond car. Stupid, which of course is the Aston Martin. What else was he going to say? Of course it's the Aston Martin. That's his favorite Bond car, and that's it. They had no other questions for fans. So it was poorly put together, poorly done, and it was a big disappointment. Yeah.
I mean, what I will say is the host, she was good, and she definitely tried to be enthusiastic. So I don't blame the host. She was very good, but yeah. And also, like, the technical issues with the sound, like, you could hear when Daniel Craig was speaking, you just couldn't hear half of what he was saying. He was speaking very quietly as well, but like his microphone was constantly fuzzing out. the sound engineer really did a very bad job there, and it didn't look like they did much to kind of fix it, really, considering they were live. They just had to go with it. And also the cast, like the rest of the cast didn't really say an awful lot either. I mean, Ana de Armas didn't really know what to say. I mean, she kind of looked to Cary Fukunaga and he was like, "Oh, just play it by ear." So I guess they kind of did this whole live stream on a whim. Maybe they just didn't know. They just wanted to give the fans something, and they kind of, it looks like they literally threw it together at the last minute. And again, the fact that there was no title was a real, that was a real blow. But I mean, yeah, that's that. And I mean, when I watched it live, and I could see the comments flooding in on YouTube. Everybody hated it. They really just ripped it apart. But still, I mean, not to say that it was all bad. I mean, I would say some of the cast choices were very good. I mean, obviously, going down the list, I think the biggest one I thought was that was exciting was Rami Malek as the villain. I was very happy that they chose him because obviously he's done a great performance in Bohemian Rhapsody as Freddie Mercury. He's recently just done that, and I believe he's got the Oscar for it. So they did right to get him, and I think he's going to bring a lot of people to the film. So good on him. Ana de Armas is a good choice. She's a very sexy woman. I like her. We'll get to Lashana Lynch, but obviously the MI6 regulars. I'm very glad they're back. You know, Ben Whishaw, Naomi Harris, Ray Fiennes. It's nice to see them back, and the addition of Felix Leiter is great. Jeffrey Wright returning as Felix, because we've not seen him since Quantum of Solace. So by the time No Time to Die comes out, it would have been, what, 12 years since we last saw him? Because he wasn't in Skyfall, nor was he in Spectre, even though he mentioned Spectre. So, I mean, are you excited about Felix? Because I am. I think it's going to be great to see him back.
Sure. I mean, I like Jeffrey Wright as Felix Leiter, and you're right. He has been absent from the last couple of movies, so it's nice to have him back. And I think it makes sense to have him back if Daniel Craig is going to be finishing his time as Bond with this movie, and it looks like he is, because you know, Jeffrey Wright was there with Daniel Craig at the start in Casino Royale, so it only makes sense to have him back for Daniel Craig's finale as Bond. So yeah, great to have him back. Yeah, I look forward to seeing him again.
I mean, it looks as though he's going to be a more central part of the action, which is what I think is fun. Apparently, according to the plot synopsis, he seeks Bond out when he's in Jamaica, and he asks for his help to track down a kidnapped scientist, apparently, which sounds cool. So Felix and Bond could be in it quite a lot together. I just hope they don't kill off Felix. That would be a terrible thing to do, but we'll see. I mean, there might be some death. You know, some people might die. As long as it's not Bond, I don't really care. I mean, if they have to kill Madeline, fine. But I'd rather them kill her at the end. No, to kill her at the start would be too similar to On Her Majesty's. But we'll get to the sort of plot ideas later. I think the next thing to talk about, following the Jamaica reveal, well, or lack of reveal, was a couple of months later, they actually released a short video. There was like a 1 minute snippet, a behind the scenes video that Cary Fukunaga released of the filming. It was just like a montage of shots, a couple of shots of the movie and of the filming, which I was really impressed that they did that. I was like, oh, that's nice. I mean, because obviously it's not a trailer, but it was something to get us excited. Sorry, 1 second.
Sure.
Sorry. There was that 1 minute sort of Jamaican teaser. I mean, the music was a bit weird, but it was still, to me, it was a nice, say, visual orgasm, so to speak. If that's the right word to use. We saw bits of Felix and bits of Daniel Craig in the Land Rover, bits of Cary Fukunaga, and we even saw a few things of Lashana Lynch. I mean, judging just from the video, the shots look incredible. The cinematography looks great, and if it looks that good just from behind the scenes, I can't wait to see what this movie's going to look like when it's finished. What did you think of that 1 minute Jamaica video, assuming that you've seen it?
Yes, I've seen it. No, it looked good. It looked good. I mean, I remember. I think there was some bit of a car chase that was in there. There was another shot of Bond with his gun at the ready, you know, like walking past a window, um, which was a good shot. It definitely whetted my appetite for the new movie. So yeah, I definitely got high hopes for it, and of course the announcement that Rami Malek, uh, who won an Oscar for playing Freddie Mercury in Bohemian Rhapsody, yeah, very talented actor, and I think he's going to make a great villain. Um, the cast for the film looks great. You know, I'm happy to see the old familiar faces like Ray Fiennes and Ben Whishaw. Let's see. Is it Naomi Harris who plays Moneypenny?
Yes, it is.
Naomi Harris, yeah, good to see her back. And then, of course, you got the new people. Great to have Leia Seydoux back as Madeline Anna de Armas, who I noticed for the first time in Blade Runner 2049, playing the holographic girlfriend. She was excellent in that movie. It doesn't surprise me that she would become a Bond girl. I think she's a perfect fit as a Bond
Yeah.
girl. So I look forward to seeing her in the movie as well. Lashana Lynch, I mean, I liked her just fine in Captain Marvel as, you know, Captain Marvel's best friend. Um, I didn't know that she was actually a British actress, that she's British, and so she was doing an American accent in Captain Marvel. I had no idea. She fooled me. I thought she was American.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm interested to seeing what she will do in the movie. Although there is a bit of a controversy about her, which I guess we will talk about shortly. Uh,
Yes.
I think I'll let you introduce what that controversy is, but nonetheless, I mean, she's a good actress, so I'm
Yeah.
looking forward. So yeah, the 1 minute behind the scenes teaser we got, it got me interested. Definitely got me interested.
Yeah.
So I'm definitely excited to see it.
I mean, I've watched it a few more times, and you know, just to kind of observe it, you know, it does look really sort of visually nice. Well, at least, I mean, we're only looking at the Jamaica bits. I mean, they're going to other locations, of course. I mean, actually, I forgot to mention Norway. They shot in Norway before they did the Jamaica reveal in March 2019. They actually shot for 2 weeks in Norway due to, I think, the weather and where they were filming. So yeah, and they were filming like this scene where this girl was running on some ice, and there was a guy in a mask chasing her. So yeah, I wonder what that's about. There have been theories about that people think it's you know, Inspector, when Madeline talks to Bond about when she was a girl and this man came to her house and, you know, she used a gun or something. They're thinking it might be that, or there's a theory that it could be Bond and Madeline's daughter. But I don't know. James Bond thus far has never had a kid, which is kind of surprising, really, given the amount of women he's shagged. But but yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I'm not sure what to believe, really. I think it's more of a flashback. I think it's. I mean, the girl looks to me like she could be a younger version of Madeline. But I think both theories are pretty plausible. I mean, just very quickly, what do you think of that? Like,
Of what, the stuff they shot in Norway?
yeah, the stuff they shot in Norway and sort of the theories about what it could be, what the scene could be.
Yeah. Well, like you said, you're absolutely right. For all the women that James Bond has had in his life, and he's had a whole lot of women, he's never fathered a child, which is a bit odd. You think that at least one oops baby would have resulted in his dalliances with all these women, but no, I guess either he shoots blanks or he, he uses protection. Who knows?
And I quote, a lot of protection for a lot of women.
A lot, yeah, yeah. So, yeah, I think the stuff in Norway was the very first stuff shot for the movie because that was the very first behind the scenes footage we got a peek at. Um, I'm not convinced that it's Bond and Madeline's daughter, just for the simple reason Bond has never had a kid before. That would be an interesting spin, but I don't know. I've never seen James Bond as a father, and I don't know if that would ever happen. So it's very possible that that could be a flashback about Madeline.
Yeah.
Her, what she mentioned in the previous film Spectre. But yeah, so it could be related to a flashback. That's my guess.
Yeah, I mean that I would think so. I don't think the Bond films have ever, thus far, have ever had a flashback sequence. At least not to my knowledge.
Yeah.
I mean, I know that. Sorry.
I was going to say, but then again, I could be wrong. Maybe it is Bond and Madeline's daughter. I mean, which would be an interesting twist. But I just don't see that happening personally.
Yeah, it would be very hard to imagine Bond as a father. I mean, but then again, this film will begin with Bond retiring, and Bond and Madeline will have sort of, well, assumed to have been settled down. So maybe this film takes place years after Spectre. I mean, we don't know. I mean, it can't be many years after Spectre because Craig doesn't look much older. So yeah, but that was the first thing that was shot. So it was interesting. And there were theories about who the guy behind the mask was, and some people thought it was Rami Malek, but I'm not so sure. I don't think it is, but yeah, no, that was a nice little glimpse. And also, in regards to the cast, I forgot to mention there's a couple of new faces. In terms of the guys, there's David Denchik, who is playing a character called Waldo. I don't know whether that's the scientist or not, but it is possible. But there's not really been much that's said about him. Neither Dali Ben Salah, who I'm assuming is playing a henchman because I've seen a picture of him and Daniel Craig in a fight. So in the openings, which I'm assuming will be in the opening scene. So yeah, Dali Ben Salah, I think, will be the henchman. His character doesn't have a name yet, so we'll wait and see. And then there's Billy Magnuson as well, who we've not seen anything of yet, so we don't know much about him. But so it's nice to see a lot of new faces. Of course, we haven't addressed the controversy surrounding Lashana Lynch. Now, this is going to be an interesting discussion because this was something that really threw me when I heard about this. I literally thought, what the fuck, when the articles came out. The articles were misleading. Like, I thought, okay, does that mean that they've cast her in this movie and then she's going to take over from Craig in the next movie? What? No. But when I read the articles, it made a lot more sense. I mean, I think I'll let you actually, Alan, elaborate on this because I think you'll explain it better than me. So I'll let you talk for a bit.
Yeah, well, a little itty bitty bit of information leaked, which confused the hell of a lot of people, and I think it gave a lot of people completely the wrong impression of what it was trying to convey. Basically, it was leaked. I don't know how these things leak. I really, really wish I knew how these bits of info leak. But some bit of info on social media leaked, and everybody jumped on it. That one of the earliest parts of the film might even be the opening scene. We don't know. But one of the earliest parts of the film is that we see M, played by Ray Fiennes, and he's sitting in his office, and then there's a knock on his office door, and Ray Fiennes, as M says, "Come in, 007." The door opens, and it's not James Bond. It's this black female walking in, played by Lashana Lynch. That 007 is now a black woman, and everybody, I think a lot of outlets got completely the wrong impression about this. That she's now the new 007. Well, yes and no. It all depends on how you look at it. She's the new 007 at the beginning of the movie, but she's not, I repeat, not James Bond.
Yes, and I think it's worthy to mention, sorry to interrupt, she's been James Bond. No, she's not been James Bond, sorry. She's been 007 while Bond has been retired. So, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But the thing is, a lot of news outlets we're jumping on this and saying, "Oh, they made James Bond a woman." It's like, no, that's not what they were saying. That's not what it means. No, James Bond is still James Bond. But you're absolutely right. We have to go back to the previous Bond movie, Spectre, where at the very end of the movie, Bond basically retires from MI6 so he can live, a nice, happy, quiet life with Madeline. We see him and Madeline. He after he defeats Blofeld, and he sees Madeline. He walks toward, throws away the gun. He embraces Madeline, kisses her, and then we see him and Madeline driving off in the Aston Martin. And if Daniel Craig wanted to end his time as James Bond right there, he could have. That would have been of his particular Bond, that Bond retired from MI6 to live happily ever after with Madeline. But we now know that there will be one more chapter to tell with Daniel Craig's Bond. But anyway, yes, the fact is he did retire. James Bond did retire from MI6 at the end of Spectre, which means that the folks at MI6, whether you agree with it or not, the folks at MI6 have every right in the world then to give the 007 number to another agent. And yes, that includes a female agent. It could give it to any agent they want. So it seems that at the start of No Time to Die, we see that with Bond retired, which means he also retired from using the 007 number, that the MI6 have given the 007 number to a new black female agent, played by Lashana Lynch. And speaking for myself, and I made a video about it, I'm perfectly okay with that as long as James Bond gets his 007 number back at the end of the movie. Because I'm hoping and praying to God that the ending we do not get is that Bond dies at the end of the movie. Therefore, Lashana Lynch becomes the official 007 going forward with the Bond series. Because if they do that, I'm done. I am done with the 007. I'm never watching this again. They already did this to our beloved Doctor Who, changing the Doctor into a woman, and that's a whole other argument, a whole other rant, which I'll spare you from today. But they already changed the Doctor into a woman. For fuck's sake, don't do that to James Bond, or give us a 007 as a woman, because that's not all what you imagine.
Exactly. And the clue is in the name, James Bond. And also, to state this, Barbara Broccoli outright stated around a similar time to when this all came out, she said, the next Bond will not be a woman. We will not cast a female as James Bond. Sorry. She said that to the feminists to stop them nagging. So, I'm sorry, but it's the way it's written. And I don't think Ian Fleming would be very happy if with all of this. I know he grew up in a different generation to us in a different time, but the fact is, there are other ways to progress the Bond franchise. Like Phoebe Waller-Bridge said, she can change and evolve the women in the writing. Just don't change Bond. If you change Bond, then it's not the same. He still needs to be the same character. That's why it works. Okay, maybe he's watered down a bit compared to the Sean Connery era. Yes, he's definitely much more watered down. But the women can be. And if this Lashana Lynch experiment works, then that's fine, but as long as they don't get, don't let it go to their heads and think, oh, okay, maybe we can do this more often, we've had other 00 agents. We've had 006, 004. That's fine. And if you want to do females, then have females do that. That's fine. But, if they change James Bond, then that's it. They lose pretty much the entire fan base, or most of them anyway, even like Eva Green, who was a Bond girl, she was Vesper in Casino Royale. Even she says it's ridiculous. Why would you change the character of Bond into a woman? It doesn't work. Given the background of the character as well, the fact that with his upbringing and everything, and again, Ian Fleming would not appreciate it, and I think they would pretty much cause the death of their own franchise if they do it. And I don't mean to be disrespectful to any females or any feminists. I don't mean that at all. But surely you've got to understand from this point of view. What do you have to say about this? Because I can't really.
It's very simple. James Bond is a man. Deal with it. That's what I would say to the feminists. For fuck's sake, Bond is a man. That's how Ian Fleming wrote him. You know, there's nothing wrong with Bond being a man. There's nothing wrong with being a man, period. And I realize we're living now in the age of the Me Too movement and all of that, but I'm just so sick and tired of all this feminist bullshit now invading the entertainment industry that we have to wipe out all the traditional male characters and replace them with female characters because, hey, that's the right thing to do. It's the politically correct thing to do. And like I said, look, I'm all for women's rights. Okay, I support the Me Too movement. Certainly, you know, to a point, you know, that these women have definitely been wronged by these particular men who unfortunately turned out to be bad men. But not all men are bad, for goodness sake. We're not all bad. And there's nothing wrong with certain fictional characters being male. Again, I'm sorry to bring up the whole thing again, but you know, they changed the Doctor into a woman for reasons of diversity and political correctness, and I am totally against what they did. At least I can console myself by watching the early classic Doctor Who episodes when the Doctor was most definitely a man, as he damn well should be. But like I said, that's a whole other rant. But now you've got these feminists who are banging the drums that they want James Bond to change into a woman. They want Jane Bond instead of James Bond. It's like, for God's sake, stop. Where do we draw the line?
Yeah, I mean, and clearly they don't understand. They don't care or understand about the source material. They just care about political correctness. And I'm sorry to go on about it, but it's an important issue. And again, this is nothing against Lashana Lynch. You know, I'm sure she's a lovely lady, and she will embrace this. She will. But you know, as long as they remember who the true hero of this story is. I mean, this is Daniel Craig's movie, you know, and I don't think they'll take that away. Lashana Lynch will clearly have a big part in the movie, and that's fine. But again, you know, it's I don't know why it was leaked, to be honest, but maybe it was better that it was leaked now rather than when the movie came out, because then people would come to terms with it. But the only concern is the ending of the movie. How will the film end? Apparently, there are 3 different endings, you know, one of which could end either way. We don't know. But just whatever happens, please do not say that Lashana Lynch will be the next Bond and take over in Bond 26. I mean, I don't think they will. Yeah, I mean, I don't think they will. But it is a worry that they might go that way. They might risk it. But you know, it's a hard thing with James Bond because you can only change it so much before, you know, I mean, I think most of the reception to the Lashana Lynch thing has been negative, and Lashana Lynch has apparently been upset about that, but it's, you know, it's not against her. It's not against her, but it's, again, I think a lot of people don't mind the fact that the women have always been a huge part of the James Bond franchise. Yes, in the past, a lot of the women were basically sexualized, but that was the time. That was what it was. That was the time. And Bond was basically the guy they wanted to be with. He was the guy that all guys wanted to be, and he was the guy that all women wanted to be with. So they can't change that. But in terms of making the females characters, that's what they have to do. Not shit like, again, pre-established characters, if they're male, should stay male. If you want to have females take the limelight, write your own characters, like Lashana Lynch's character. I'm assuming she's going to be quite an interesting character. You know, I mean, basically what I think they have done for No Time to Die is they have compromised. They have said, look, we can't change Bond because that will just lose the fans, but we can appeal to the feminists without offending the Bond fans. So let's make her have the 00 status like in the beginning of the movie, you know, at least in the beginning. So we might see a bit of her in action in Jamaica, and then we'll realize who she is when she comes into the office, and then she'll meet Daniel Craig. But you know, it would just be, it's almost like a fleeting, you know, glance, really. It would just be like a passing remark, really. It won't be anything major. So I think people have blown this out of proportion. I mean, again, we were both misled by the articles. But I mean, the fact is, her character is called Nomi as well. You can look it up. I mean, you know, on IMDb, her character is listed as Nomi. So, you know, they're not called a Jane or or Jane Bond or something. You know, that would be stupid. And I think Barbara Broccoli and Cary Fukunaga have a bit more sense than that. So that's my piece on it. But, you know, I think we'll be fine. But I think it will just be something that the feminists can take away and go, okay, I respect that they did that. But, you know, I mean, obviously, a lot of people want Bond, the character, as a woman. But I'm sorry that, you know, they've drawn the line. We can't go there. It's not going to happen.
Yeah.
So deal with it. I'm sorry to rant, but you know, sometimes you got to put your foot down, really.
Yeah. Now, I don't know if you watched Piers Morgan on your British morning program, fighting the good fight against them changing James Bond to a woman. And I'm not the world's biggest Piers Morgan fan, but I'm with him all the way when he loudly said that no, James Bond is a man. You know, this notion of trying to change him into a woman is ridiculous. And Piers Morgan saying, you know, if they change James Bond into a woman, I'm never watching another movie in the 007 film franchise ever again. And I'm with you all the way, Piers. I mean, if they want to destroy the 007 franchise, change Bond into a woman and watch what happens. You know?
Yeah.
So
and that's the thing. No one will watch. No one will watch. Well, not many people will watch.
No, don't go there. Do not go there, for goodness sake. I'm hoping that the ending that they are going to do, because it's the ending that makes sense to me, is that Bond lives at the end of the movie. He better live, and he returns to MI6, and in so doing, he gets his 007 number back. And Lashana Lynch's agent, assuming that she survives at the end of the movie, she's assigned a new number, which is fine with me. She can be 008, she can be 002, 005, any other number at the end of the movie but 007. 007 should go back to James Bond at the end of the movie. So for me, that would be a thing. Yeah.
Yeah. Or another thing. What if it turns out they actually kill off Lashana Lynch, and that is a way of Craig's Bond getting his 007 status back through her demise? I mean, it might piss off the feminists, but at least, you know, it's a way for him to get his old status back. But maybe something happens. Maybe Madeline dies at the end as well. I mean, you can predict the ending in many ways, but it's hard to really go on what we don't really know. I mean, all I know about the plot is that it apparently involves like genetic warfare or something, and Madeline's DNA is kind of important in the story. So that makes me think that maybe she may not die, or if she dies, she'll die at the end. But I don't know. But one thing we do know, going away from Lashana Lynch, I think for a moment, one thing I was pleased to hear was that Christoph Waltz is returning as Blofeld. Apparently, he was spotted on set, and he says, "You haven't seen me." So I don't know why they didn't reveal him in the live stream. Maybe they were trying to keep him a surprise, and we don't know how crucial his role is. But I must confess, I was very happy to hear about Blofeld's return. I mean, it makes sense after the end of Spectre, because Blofeld didn't die in the end of Spectre. He was presumably arrested, so we'll probably see him either in prison or he'll break out of prison, potentially, and maybe he's working with Rami Malek's character known as Safin. I'm very happy about that, because I think, I mean, they established this whole foster brother relationship between Bond and Blofeld in Spectre, and I still think there's more to that. Obviously, that won't be the central focus because, you know, Safin is the villain, you know, Rami Malek's the main villain. But the fact that Blofeld is coming back, though, I'm just happy about that. I mean, what are your thoughts on Christoph Waltz returning?
Well, let's see. Are you sure he's coming back? Because I heard that he wasn't coming back, and I don't see his name listed in the cast, unless they're keeping it really hush hush that he's in the cast, and it won't be revealed until the movie comes out.
Well, I'm pretty confident because his name is confirmed on the IMDb page. I'll send you the link to the page, but he is definitely on there. So he is back. Okay. But to what extent, I don't know.
Okay.
So if you scroll through,
they didn't include it on Wiki.
Oh yeah.
It could be. Yeah. Well, if he really is back, sure, that's great. I mean, I enjoyed his performance in Spectre, even though he didn't get as much screen time as he could have, but when he was on screen, he was great. And like I said, if he is coming back for this movie, obviously it'll be a smaller role, smaller supporting role. I mean, apparently Rami Malek is the main baddie in this new movie. It won't be Christoph Waltz, but maybe Christoph Waltz will still get in a really good cameo as Blofeld. Yeah, it could be Blofeld in prison. That maybe Rami Malek's character Safin or Safin that he visits Blofeld in prison or something. Who knows? But if he is there in the movie, that's great. I'll be happy to have him back, even if it's only a cameo. It'll be nice to see him there.
Yeah, I would like him to do more than a cameo, but I mean, who knows? Maybe he's working with Safin or something. But I mean, it's hard to say. But I was very pleased to hear that he's back, and also it looks as though Spectre, the organization, will feature quite prominently in this film. Apparently, one of the female agents who was in Spectre is coming back. Dr. Vogel, her name is. So there's probably going to be another Spectre meeting scene. So that is exciting. I think that will be interesting. I mean, it would be silly for them not to really appear, given after the events of Spectre. So that's cool. What other news is there? Oh yeah, there was Prince Charles. Prince Charles went and visited the set of No Time to Die, and there was a rumor that he was going to have a cameo, but I don't know how true that is really. I don't know if they've given him any cameo, but he definitely had a tour of the set. One person that was meant to have a cameo was Grace Jones, believe it or not, who appeared in Alan's least favorite Bond movie, View to a Kill. And apparently it was all arranged. She was going to fly over from America. She was going to fly over from America, and they were going to put her up in a hotel somewhere. And apparently she turned it down in the end because she got there and she realized she didn't have as many lines as she wanted. I mean, bearing in mind this is a cameo, and then she just turned around and said, "Nope, sorry, I'm not going to do this now." So that was a bit of a waste. I think that was a little bit disrespectful, really. They went to a lot of effort to get her there, and they obviously paid a fair amount of money for her. But yeah, it just seemed a little bit ungrateful, really. But I don't really know how true that is. But yeah, I mean, would you have liked to have seen her do a cameo?
I wouldn't have minded if Grace Jones was there. I mean, you're right that I'm no fan of View to a Kill, but I mean, I acknowledge that Grace Jones is a very woman, although her main thing is music rather than acting. But I know she's done a little bit of acting here. I mean, I know she was in one of the Conan the Barbarian movies with Arnold Schwarzenegger, and that kind of role I can see her in, because Grace Jones, she's a very muscular woman. So I can totally picture her playing an action role in a Conan movie.
Yeah.
But I just thought that she was too muscular, too androgynous. She has a very androgynous look to her. Muscular and androgynous. She didn't quite fit as a Bond girl for me, because she was a little too butch to be a Bond girl. And then of course there's scene where she gets in bed with 57-year-old Roger Moore. I'm like, ugh.
Yeah, I've been waiting for you to take care of me personally.
I like women who look like women, not women who look like men.
I mean, the fact now, I think now she's too old to really do any action now. I mean, what is she? What, in her 70s or something like that? Or late 60s? Something. She must be quite old now.
She must be at least in her 60s. I'm sure she's still in great shape for a woman of her age, but I think, she'd be at least now in her 60s now. I would think. Again, I know she's very talented, but her main thing has always been music rather than acting. And I don't know. I wasn't crazy about A View to a Kill in general, but I just thought that for all of her talent that she has, she was just too butch to be a Bond girl, in my opinion. But if she had managed a cameo in No Time to Die, that would have been fine. I wouldn't have minded seeing her in that. I'm sorry that things didn't work out, but I am just curious though. I mean, what she didn't know what she was getting into when they offered her this cameo. I mean, she hadn't seen beforehand how many lines she was going to have in the movie.
Well, apparently not. I think unless they told her it wasn't, unless they probably misled her and told her it was a bigger part than what she thought. But I don't know. All I heard was that she walked away because she felt she didn't have enough lines. But I mean, that could be a load of BS. But I don't really know. It wasn't very clear. Let's just say that. But I think I'm completely indifferent to it. To be honest, I would have been okay with her there, or okay with her not there. Really, regardless. Moving away from that, another thing I think we should mention is the fact that there was some delays, and obviously there have been a lot of delays because originally there was going to be a a release date of Valentine's Day next year, February the 14th, which is a bit of a strange time to release a Bond movie, but yeah, and then they had to push the date back because Daniel Craig had injured himself in Jamaica, and he needed surgery or something, so they had to delay filming. And then there was an explosion in Pinewood. Apparently, they were doing some testing, and they actually, I don't think no one died, luckily, but I think somebody might have got injured in the explosion. Did you hear about that?
I heard about it. I heard about it. Yeah, I think I read one or two articles about it online. Yeah.
So yeah, that was unfortunate, but I mean, that's kind of one of those things. It's just the nature of filmmaking. I mean, there was a lot of there's obviously been a lot of negative news in regards to Bond 21. A lot of people were kind of blowing it out of proportion, saying, "Oh, the production is doomed. It will never get finished." Oh, but it's like, well, no, of course they'll finish it. They want to make it the best they can. There's just been a lot of setbacks, and that's not really their fault. They're just they're trying their best. And obviously, in the run up to the official title reveal, we had some working titles. I think the first working title was Shatterhand, and that one was actually dismissed by Barbara Broccoli. Actually, around the time of or before the Jamaica reveal, I believe. What was your thoughts on Shatterhand, the title?
Shatterhand. Yeah, I kind of felt two-sided about that title. I mean, it sounds. Let me put it this way: it sounds more like a title for a Bond novel rather than a Bond movie. I mean, if somebody had written a Bond novel and called it Shatterhand, I think that would have been fine. But I know as a movie, Shatterhand.
Yeah.
I no, I mean it's an interesting title, but doesn't really roll off the tongue.
Yeah.
I'm actually very glad that they did not go with that for a title. As a matter of fact, I don't know if you saw this, but someone, I don't know who, but someone managed to get like an advanced script or like a leaked script of Shatterhand, and they actually approached Barbara Broccoli. they I don't know, somehow they branded the Barbara Broccoli and asked her to autograph this advanced script of Shatterhand, which oddly enough she did autograph it, but then she wrote on the first page of the script, not the title.
Yeah. to make it very obvious. But yeah, I mean, I kind of agree with you, to be honest. I mean, and also another reason why I don't think it would have been the right choice is the fact that we've already had the previous two movies had titles that both started with S. So Skyfall, Spectre. To follow that with Shatterhand, it would just be, yeah. It doesn't sound very. It doesn't roll off the tongue, and it's too many S's. I think like 3 titles with S. I think it would have been a bit too generic. I mean, there were links. Apparently, the title refers to someone who links to Blofeld or something. So I guess it was definitely under consideration, but. I agree. I'm glad they didn't choose that one.
Yeah, and also Shatterhand. I mean that sounds like a shortened version of I shattered my hand, like it's a hand injury kind of thing. So it doesn't really fit as a Bond title, or at least not for a movie. You might get away with it if it's the title of a Bond novel, maybe. But
yeah, or a video game.
Yeah, but to see that up there on the screen, Shatterhand, And what kind of Bond theme song could you do for Shatterhand? I don't know.
Gonna shatter my hands. I'm gonna meet that good man. I don't know, something like that would be pretty weird. It still doesn't compare to your Octopussy theme. Octopussy, she ain't a wussy.
Yeah, I mean, they probably have a way of just do a theme song that doesn't mention Shatterhand, but at the end of the day, it doesn't really fit as a Bond movie title. So I'm glad they didn't use it.
Yeah. And moving swiftly to the other titles, I mean, I think the only other ones worth mentioning are there was another one called Eclipse, which I guess would have been interesting, but to me, if they'd have called it that, it would have just reminded everybody of Twilight. So I'm kind of glad they didn't choose that one. But Eclipse is a good name, but again, I don't feel like it's, like, for the same reasons as Shatterhand, I don't feel like it's the right title for a movie. I think calling a Bond Eclipse would be better as a novel or a game, like a video game. But it's not a bad title. I mean, to follow it after Spectre, I don't think it sounds very right. But I mean, would you agree?
Eclipse. When I think of the word eclipse, I think of either a solar eclipse or a lunar eclipse. You know, maybe you know, it has kind of a science fiction kind of sound to it. Eclipse.
Yeah.
So again, an interesting word, but to use it as a Bond title, again, I don't quite makes the grade.
No, and again, you know, too much of a reminder of Twilight.
Yeah, that too.
Yeah,
that too. Yeah.
And then the other one, which were the next two, which were the ones that really concerned me, were the first one being A Reason to Die, the next one, Genoma of a Woman. The first one, A Reason to Die, I was like, oh my God, please do not call it that. Please do not call it that. I heard a rumor that they were allegedly going to title the movie with that before the live stream in April, but they dropped it a day before because they had second thoughts about it. I mean, thank God, because, you know...
I'm so glad second thoughts about it, because, yeah, I mean, the title implies right there that Bond dies at the end. Even if he doesn't die, it's going to scare shitless all the fans that's what happens, because you're calling the movie A Reason to Die. Like, oh, James Bond has a reason to die in this movie. Like, he's going to sacrifice himself at the end of the film. So no, it's a very misleading title. Very, very misleading. So I'm so glad that they didn't go with that.
Oh, yeah, no. I mean, thank God. Thank God. I mean, and then Genoma of a Woman, I was like, what? What the hell is that? That's not one title. I mean, apparently Daniel Craig really liked it, but what the hell does that like? Genoma of a Woman. I'm assuming it means like genetics, like of a woman. So referring to probably Madeline, but what a strange title.
It seems to be like an offshoot version of one of the Ian Fleming titles that they have never used yet in a Bond title, which is A Property of a Lady.
Yes.
So this is like a spin-off, Genova of a Woman. Well, shit, if you're going to call it that, just go with Property of a Lady.
Exactly.
That's an Ian Fleming title. Go with that. Property of a Lady would have been fine.
I do stand by my opinion that there needs to be a Bond movie titled Property of a Lady at some point, you know, in the future.
Yeah, that, and I think there's another short story, the title they've never used, called Risico, which I really like.
Risico. Now that is a good title. I really want to have a film called Risico. With the new guy, hopefully, with Craig's successor. But yeah, but no, those two titles weren't as in Genoma of a Woman and The Reason to Die. Those were the ones I was really worried about. But thankfully, in the end, I think it was about September, we got the title. We got No Time to Die, which essentially is the opposite of A Reason to Die. So that gave me hope. I was like, oh my God, thank God. I like No Time to Die. And it gives me hope that Bond is going to live at the end of the movie. I mean, that may not happen, but it's very likely that Bond will live now, I think. I like this title, No Time to Die. And it's not like a one-word title as well. So it's a bit different to the previous two films, because obviously Skyfall, Spectre, No Time to Die. So, I mean, at first glance, it was a bit basic, a bit generic, but I'm sure the title has deeper meaning. I'm sure we'll find out why it's called that when we see the movie. But my first impressions were like, yes, this is a good title. And although it is, the only thing is, it is the fourth Bond title with the word die, because we now have Live and Let Die, Tomorrow Never Dies, Die Another Day, and now No Time to Die. So what do you think of the official title, Alan?
Well, I'm glad you mentioned that this is the fourth Bond movie to have the word die in it. I've always joked on my YouTube channel that I think a great title for a Bond movie would be Die, Die, and Die Again. Die so much in these film titles. So yeah, just go all the way. Die, die, and die again. Yeah. I mean, yeah, okay. It's kind of odd that they're using the word die yet again, because you're right. This is the fourth Bond movie to use die. But if you got to use it, I do like the title "No Time to Die." And as you say, it's a title that suggests that James Bond will live at the end of the movie, because James Bond, he has no time to die, so he's not gonna die. That's definitely, I definitely breathed a sigh of relief when I learned that was the final official title of it.
Yeah, I mean, did you see the little video, the reveal? Because normally what they do is they have like an event, like a press event, where the director steps up and announces details about the movie, about where they're shooting and stuff. Like the Spectre one, they had like a proper 10-minute live event and they revealed the title. Whereas this, they just threw a video out on social media. It was like a 30-second video of Daniel Craig walking and then pulling back. The title sort of morphed. I was happy with it. I mean, at least we got the title. I mean, it was better than nothing, but it would have been nice to have a sort of event to reveal it. But I mean, did you see the video?
Yeah, I did. No, I liked it very much. I mean, I wish they would have had the title in place when they did the announcement in Jamaica, which wasn't much of an announcement at all. But I like that promo for the title, because yeah, it's in black and white. We see Daniel Craig walk across the screen. He stops. He looks at us, and the camera pulls back and slowly reveals the title. And using the font, you know, the logo design that they use for No Time to Die, it definitely has a very retro kind of look to it, like you know, like the kind of title design you would see maybe from the 1960s or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, at first, I was like, "What the hell is this logo?" But I've actually grown to really like it now. I think it's different. It's nice. But at first I thought, "Well, this is a bit weird." But yeah, it is very retro, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It is. I mean, I liked it. I like that teaser for the title, and I thought it was very well done. You know, the black and white look, and then the slow reveal of the title, and seeing Daniel Craig in there. So no, I really enjoyed that, and I do like the title. Like I said, okay, they're using the word "die" again for the fourth time, but I think they're using it in a good way. And again, it's a title that suggests that Bond lives at the end of the movie, and we don't know for sure, but it suggests that he lives. So that's all good. And maybe, just maybe, maybe just maybe, it also suggests that while the movie may begin with Lashana Lynch as 007, that Bond will get the 007 number back by the film's end. So all's well that ends well. So
yeah,
so I think
it would be nice to think that. Yes.
Yeah. So it's a good title. I like it very much, and it's nice to give Craig a 4-word title. He's had okay. The opening movie was 2 words, and then he had 3 words. The last 2 movies were just 1 word, so now he gets one with 4 words. So a little bit of variation there. And as you say, nice that they used a title that didn't start with the letter S, because he's had 2 of those in a row. So
yeah.
overall, it's a good title. I'm very pleased with the title. I think Ian Fleming himself would be pleased with the title. It does have a very 007 feel to it. So yes, I like it.
I mean, that was everybody's first reactions, was that, oh, this title is very James Bond. And Yes, and actually, I believe there's an old film called No Time to Die.
Yes.
I don't know if
Yes.
it's to do with Columbo or not. Is that correct? I just saw it somewhere.
Yeah, actually, no. I'm glad you mentioned that. I had totally forgotten about it. Yeah, it has to be said that it's not an original title because yes, there is an older film that used it. I can look that up right now. But yeah, I think it was made in the 50s. I believe. I'm looking it up right now. Okay, yeah. Well, there's all the info about James Bond. But I came across it. I know I came across it. That there was an earlier film. Anyway,
I think it was released. I don't know much
1950.
about it, but all I know is I think it was released in 1958.
Right. Okay. Well, that helps. Let me type that into the search engine because if I say No Time to Die movie, it's going to assume I want the James Bond movie. So let me put in 1950. Thank you for the year.
That's all right.
Let's see. Yes, you're absolutely right. Here we go. Yeah, this was a movie. Okay. Yeah, it came out in 1958. It looks like it was re-released with the title Tank Force. It's a British war movie. Let's see. Again, I'm looking at the Wikipedia page. Yeah, No Time to Die. This is the earlier movie, No Time to Die. No Time to Die is a 1958 film about an American sergeant in the British Army during the Second World War. In the U.S., the film was renamed Tank Force. So there you go.
Yeah, I guess now we'll have to just call it Tank Force because of the Bond movie, No Time to Die. So.
Oh, hey, Ollie, there's another Bond connection here. I didn't notice this before. You know who one of the producers of the earlier No Time to Die was? Albert Broccoli.
Oh, wow.
So maybe, yeah, no, I didn't notice that before. Oh, and here's more connections. The earlier No Time to Die movie written by Richard Maybaum, who I think did some work in the Bond movies, and you know this name, Terrence Young.
Oh no, so he directed it.
Looks like he wrote it or co-wrote it with Richard Maybaum. There's a Terrence Young, unless it's a totally different Terrence Young from the Terrence Young who directed, but you have all of these Bond connections. Albert Broccoli was one of the producers, along with Irving Allen. That's a well-known name, Irving Allen. Yeah, Albert Broccoli co-produced it. Oh, Terrence Young did direct it as well. Terrence Young directed it and co-wrote it. So that's two more James Bond connections there. So maybe the makers of the new No Time to Die were inspired by that earlier film. You know, that there's this earlier movie called Die. You know, yeah, Terrence Young directed it. Albert Broccoli, you know, Barbara Broccoli's dad co-produced it. So let's just use it for the new Bond movie.
Wow. I mean, yeah, I would be very surprised if they didn't look at that and think, well, this would be a great title, not only because of what we want to do, but also the connections. So I never knew all of that. That's brilliant. Thanks for looking that up. That's really interesting. Sure. For our viewers who probably didn't know any of that as well. So thank you.
Me neither. Oh, and oh my God, I'm looking at the cast list. Here's another connection. One of the actresses in that earlier movie was Luciana Paluzzi, who would later appear in Thunderball.
Oh.
As illness. So you've got Bond connections all over the place in this earlier note. So that's got to be Ollie. That has to be it. They must have been inspired by that earlier film with the title. I mean, they were going to call the movie A Reason to Die, and then they must have thought about this earlier film called No Time to Die and said, you know, that's a great title for a Bond movie. Let's do that.
Yeah, and it makes sense with all the Bond connections. So yeah, that must have been what drew them to think, yeah, let's call this No Time to Die. So
yeah,
wow,
there you go. And nobody's going to sue us because you know a whole bunch of Bond people were involved with that earlier film, so we're not going to sue ourselves.
No, exactly.
So let's use it. So there you go.
Yeah,
that's really cool. I didn't know that stuff before. How about that?
I didn't know that as well. I have a lot more respect for that title now. I mean, going into the movie, I'm gonna be thinking about all those connections. That's going to be interesting. Also,
Yeah.
moving away from the titles, one other thing we should talk about. This will only be in brief because there isn't much to say. The teaser poster for the movie, which is basically Craig in front of a blue wall or blue doorway. I'm assuming it's somewhere in Jamaica, but I don't know. And he's just wearing a suit, and the logo is across him. To me, this poster is a bit bland. It's a bit basic. It's not terrible, but it's basically nothing. I mean, they released it on Global James Bond Day, which is I think the 5th of October or something. But I just thought to myself, well, you could have probably done a bit better than that, to be honest. I would have preferred to have Craig maybe in front of a gun barrel or something. I mean, what did you think of the poster?
I'm looking at it right now. I mean, I like it for what it is. I mean, it's just it basically just shows you that this is a James Bond movie, and it's called No Time to Die, and it's coming out in April. But it basically just shows Daniel Craig looking a little bit older. He still looks good in the tux, but okay, he looks a little bit older now, and it's a James Bond movie. And yeah, he's standing up against a blue wall, looking into the distance. Don't even see his gun, really. Be nice if he was holding up his gun, but I mean, I like that. I like it. It's a teaser poster. Obviously, there'll be a much better poster coming out closer to the movie's release. But for this little tease to let us know that James Bond is coming back and Daniel Craig is coming back one more time as Bond, for what it is, I think it's a decent enough teaser poster. You know,
Yeah,
it could have been, I suppose, but it's good enough. It'll do.
yeah, and yeah. I mean, there isn't really much to say about it, to be honest. And I guess the sort of the last thing to really sort of wrap up is obviously the fact that they've now finished filming, which is great. I don't know if you've seen the video, but there is a video of Daniel Craig at a rap party in Italy talking about his experience as Bond, and he gave a very nice farewell speech. I mean, he was a bit drunk, but it was a very touching speech about his time as James Bond. Somebody just filmed it from the back. So I quite liked that. That was nice. But the main thing to talk about is recently, obviously, they announced that Rami Malek's villain being named Safin, which I think is a cool name, very mysterious, very interesting. I'm sure we'll get to know the full extent of his character, or at least a bit more about him when we see a trailer. But there's been this rumor going around that Rami Malek could potentially be playing Dr. No. I don't know where this come from, but like it just seems to have spawned into all these theories. I think it started with the fact that we're going to Jamaica, and obviously Dr. No, the film has Jamaica, and there are Jamaican connections. But I don't really know if it's necessary to bring back Dr. No. I mean, I was quite happy with Blofeld to come back because obviously Blofeld is the head of Spectre. But I would much rather have Rami Malek be his own character. And apparently he's going to be a very nasty piece of work, and he gets under Bond's skin. And that's a quote from Barbara Broccoli. So I think it's unlikely that he's Dr. No, but I mean, what do you think? Because I'm curious about this because everybody keeps talking about it.
I don't believe for a second that he's going to be revealed to be Dr. No. I mean, Dr. No is long dead. He was the first villain Bond took on right at the beginning of the film series in the early 60s, and to bring him back to reveal as Dr. No, that's just silly. I think that's totally silly.
Yeah. And especially in this new timeline as well, when Blofeld has already been revealed, you know, it would be less impactful to reveal another guy. I mean, if he's not going to be above Blofeld, then there's no point, really.
Yeah, no, seriously, no. Safin should definitely be his own original villain. I mean, you've got a great actor playing him, Rami Malek. And by the way, you know something? I don't think that it's going to be Safin, who is the guy, you know, chasing the girl in that footage that we saw from Norway, because the guy chasing the girl appeared to be very tall. Looking at that footage, and Rami Malek is a little guy. You know, he's not very tall at all. So I don't think it's Safin chasing that girl in that footage they shot in Norway. That's just my opinion. But But I definitely believe that that Rami Malek is going to just totally crush it as Safin, and he'll be a memorable Bond villain. So I think he's going to do great. He's going to be a great villain.
Yeah, I mean, hopefully he will be one of the best, and hopefully they give him a decent amount of screen time. Because obviously Christoph Waltz was. I mean, it was criticized for not having enough screen time. So I think they want to make sure that they make this villain much more, much more impactful. I mean, then again, Silver in Skyfall did not appear until halfway into the film, and he was great. So yeah. I mean, also, it's highly likely that Safin will be a member of Spectre. I think that will be the case. I think he's either a sort of a bridge, he's a branch off of Spectre, or he's perhaps working for Blofeld or with Blofeld. Perhaps or maybe he's not working for Spectre, but he's teamed up with Spectre to help take down Bond. I mean, I don't know. I mean, what do you think? Because obviously Silver and Blofeld are very personal villains. Silver was personal to to Judi Dench's M, and Blofeld was obviously very personal to Bond. So do you think Safin is potentially a very personal villain, or because if he gets under his skin, then maybe he knows him and he knows what he's like potentially. I mean, it's hard to really predict at this stage, but what do you think?
Well, gee, I don't know if there'll be a personal connection between Safin and Bond. I mean, you already got the personal connection thing with Blofeld in the previous movie. So to do it again with Safin, might be like, oh, here we go again, another villain personally connected to Bond. So I don't think he'll be personally connected to Bond, but I wouldn't be surprised at all if he's a member of Spectre. I mean, just because Blofeld is in prison, which apparently he was since the ending of Spectre, the movie. Just because he's in prison doesn't mean it's the end of the Spectre organization. I mean, they're all over the place, Spectre. So it wouldn't surprise me at all if Safin is a member of Spectre. He probably is.
Yeah,
very possible.
Yeah, I mean, there's every chance he could. I mean, Blofeld might break out of prison, depending on sort of how much they want to give him to do in the film. Considering he was criticised for not having enough screen time in Spectre, to give him even less, I think would piss off a lot more people. I mean, this guy's the head of the organization. So obviously, don't take away from Rami Malek, but I think give Christoph Waltz a decent amount to do. At least 3 or 4 scenes would be nice. But I don't know. There's a lot of people in this film, so it really depends what they do. But I think, I agree. I think Safin could be a member of Spectre, and I think perhaps maybe he gets under Bond's skin, maybe in the sense of that he might, he might use Madeline or something. I mean, I guess maybe judging by the plot, from what I can gather, maybe he's trying to unlock the secrets to her DNA or something. Or maybe he kills Madeline. I don't know. I mean, it's very hard to say. But he certainly is a great choice, and I think he'll be a very interesting villain. I seriously hope he ranks among one of the best. I mean, I think Craig has had some of the best villains of the series. Particularly Le Chiffre and Silver are the best villains he's had. Dominic Green, not so much. But I mean, for whatever people say, I still really like Christoph Waltz as Blofeld. So it'd be nice to see him.
No, I think all of Craig's villains in the Bond movies have been great, except the one from Quantum of Solace.
Dominic Green.
He was terrible. But all the other villains have been great. So, and you've got a great actor playing him besides, Rami Malek in this one. So I'm not worried at all that Rami Malek is going to do just fine.
Yeah, I mean, it seems as though, judging by what we've discussed, that they are throwing a lot at this film. It's going to be now it's the most expensive Bond movie ever made, so it's going to be interesting. I mean, there's been a lot of leaks of filming of Italy. Apparently, the opening scene takes place in Italy. There's a big car chase, bike chase. There's some huge opening that they've been filming. I'm amazed that some of that footage is still there, to be honest. But it looks pretty cool. So I try and avoid spoilers I want to obviously avoid spoilers, but try and avoid looking at leaked footage where possible. And also, they've gone all out with the cars. They've got 4 cars in this movie. Well, actually, about 5 now. In terms of the actual main cars, obviously the DB5 will be there. I mean, you can't not have the DB5 after, considering it's Craig's last one. You've got this new car called the Aston Martin Valhalla, which is an electric car, which is the first electric car, I believe, in the Bond series. Then you've got the Aston Martin V8 from the Living Daylights, which is a nice choice. So it's nice that they're bringing that back. And then there is one called the Super Leggera, I believe, that was added in. And obviously there's the Land Rover as well, which we'll see in Jamaica. But those are kind of like the main cars. So I'm quite excited to see those in action. I don't know about you.
Oh, sure. I mean, who doesn't love a really cool looking car in a James Bond movie? Bond only drives the best, you know. So, I mean, I'm looking at a photo right now of the Aston Martin Valhalla, and this is a super looking car. It's right on the Wikipedia page for the movie, and it's a very sleek design. Man. I mean, if ever there was a car that was a chick magnet, it's the Aston Martin Valhalla.
Yeah,
this is a great looking car. So no, I do admit that that's one of the appeals of the James Bond movies is to see whatever car he's going to be driving in it. I mean, going all the way back to the original Aston Martin DB5 from Goldfinger, you know, and then you know, the other classic cars like the Lotus Esprit that Roger Moore drove in Spy Who Loved Me, that submarine, you know, the cool car that Timothy Dalton drove in Living Daylights, and on and on and on.
That's the point. Do you reckon the cars will have gadgets that work? Because Inspector Bond stole a prototype of the DB10 and the gadgets didn't work, which is quite funny. It was a nice.
Yeah, no.
So I wonder if the V8 will have the laser that it had. You know, when Dalton says salt corrosion, you know, he slices the car with the laser, or unless they update it to have more modern gadgets. I mean, I don't know, but that would be nice.
Oh, sure, and and another one that comes to mind was that really cool car that Brosnan drove in Tomorrow Never Dies that he could control by remote control, and he had that great action scene in the parking garage where he's in the back seat driving it by remote control, and the bad guys firing at him. That was great. Yeah, these are all great cars. I think the only one that turned out to be a bust really was the one from Die Another Day, which was the Vanish, which was the invisible car. I mean, it when you could see the car, it looked good, but the idea of making it invisible was just right out of a comic book. And
it was too far. I think at that point, when they saw the reviews for Die Another Day, people thought, they realized, we went too far with that, and it was it was too far into campy land, just into the realms of self-parody. It was really just not credible. So thankfully they learned from Die Another Day, and with the Craig era, they've definitely made it much more realistic. But again, they've kept some of the tropes. Like obviously every car he gets, it just seems to be destroyed. So like Inspector, the DB10 got destroyed. Casino Royale, the Aston Martin DB5, was it DB5 or DBS? I think it was the DBS that got the one that turned over 7 times, got destroyed. And then in Skyfall, the DB5 got destroyed. It got blown up by the helicopter. So yeah, it again, and this. So I think No Time to Die will probably end up wrecking all the cars, but it's just it's just a tradition that's happened now. So I'll be surprised if any of the cars make it to the end. Maybe the DB5 will, but who knows?
But didn't Bond get the DB5 back in Spectre? That either Q rebuilt it or just built him another one.
Yeah, he says, I believe I said bring it back in one piece, not bring back one piece. So I guess he basically remodeled it. Inspector.
Also, I want to say, in defense of Spectre, because I know Spectre was not received very well, but I think you and me stand our ground that we think Spectre is a great Bond movie. Even though Skyfall was admittedly better, but Spectre is still a great Bond movie on its own. But I gotta say, one of the things that Spectre, one of the great things Spectre did for me as a fan is that it finally fulfilled my dream of seeing Bond have some gadgets that don't really work all that well. Just to make it funny,
Yeah,
to bring that all he has, Q gives him his gadgets and all the gadgets work, but just this one time, let's see Bond get some gadgets that don't work
yeah,
particularly well.
yeah,
And yeah, he had driving a prototype car where the gadgets weren't particularly working all that well, and it was very
yeah.
funny, actually very funny. So I was very happy that they did that in
Yeah,
Spectre.
music enabled for 009. That was the best one.
Mhm.
But
So
yeah,
so yeah, I like that very much. I'm glad they did it. I mean, I hope it's not a pattern because obviously you want Bond's gadgets to work, but just this one time, just for this one movie, let's have some gadgets not work so well for Bond, and it was funny. It was funny.
yeah. I mean, also considering the fact that Craig's Bond is much more realistic and much more gritty. The fact that he hasn't, like, his era hasn't really had a lot of gadgets. The fact that when he finally has them, they don't work. I think is just funny. And I think with No Time to Die, we might see some that work, or it may just be the car chases may just be more like brutal in terms of the like more like crashing and the pursuit rather than the gadgets. But I mean, who knows? We'll have to see what they've done, what they filmed.
Yeah.
But yeah, and also another thing worth mentioning is the composer of the movie was announced a while ago. The score is being composed by someone called Dan Romer. I've never heard of him, but apparently he's done some scores for video games. So we'll see how that works out. But yeah, interesting that Thomas Newman isn't coming back after Skyfall and Spectre.
Yeah, yeah, Dan Romer. Okay, yeah, this is a new guy. Uh, yeah, I'm not familiar with his work at all, but if they hired him, I take it that he'll do a good job. But yeah, admittedly, I'm not familiar with his work. I'm sorry, but I'll take it on faith that he will do well with the music. That's all
Yeah,
I'll
I
say.
mean, hopefully it would just give us a great Bond score. And also another thing we haven't talked about, the song. I mean, the title sequence is being done by Daniel Kleinman again, so thank God for that. But the
Yes.
song, there's been so many rumors about it. I mean, my hope is that Adele will come back and do another song, but I don't know if it's likely. Apparently, she's a bit skittish about doing it because she's worried about it being compared to Skyfall, which is understandable, really. But
Sure.
I really think she would do a great sort of song. I mean, I can so imagine the words "No Time to Die" in a song. No time to die. Can't tell you why, or something like that. Anyway, it would be great. I can see it. I mean, I know Writings on the Wall had its share of detractors, but I actually it grew on me. I liked it more when I saw it with the title sequence in the film Inspector. I mean, the only parts that were a bit near to me were when Sam Smith went falsetto and went, "How do I that was a bit too much. But the general, the song was fine. It was good. It was fine. The orchestration was beautiful. It was well done, but I really do think that Skyfall was the better song. So I mean, and there's been rumors about people doing it, like Ed Sheeran. I mean, I mean, Ed Sheeran is a good artist, but he's not James Bond. I don't think his music would suit James Bond at all. So that's a no for me. I don't know about you. I mean, what about you, Alan? Who would you like to see do the song? And do you have any people that you don't want to see as well?
Oh dear. As far as who could do the song, I've heard of Ed Sheeran, but I'm really not familiar with his music, so I can't make a call whether or not he would do good as doing a Bond theme. I would love for Adele to come back to do it. I mean, maybe what she could do is, while she's not officially committed to doing the new Bond theme, maybe if she really wanted to, she could her own try to come up with a Bond theme for No Time to Die. If she and a co-writer were just sitting around the studio or at her home and just wanted to see, oh, well, wouldn't it be fun if we could come up for a Bond theme for No Time to Die? And they just try to come up with one. And if they really do come up with something, then they could phone the producers and say, hey, we wrote a theme song for No Time to Die. Would you like to use it? But I don't know if Adele would want to do that. But I would be totally open to her coming back. But I mean, she was hugely successful with the Skyfall theme. Got an Oscar for it as well.
Yeah.
Well deserved. But I can understand the pressure she would be under to try to come up with another theme song that would be as instant classic as Skyfall was. By the way, if I can say about the writings on the wall, Sam Smith, I mean, it grew on. It grew on me. I think as a Bond theme, it's fine. I do love the orchestral arrangements on it. I mean, it's a ballad. There's no track on it, which kind of threw me off the first time I heard it. But listening to it some more, and I do really appreciate the orchestral arrangement on it. I think that's the one Bondian touch that they had on it. And then of course when I finally Spectre and saw the wonderful credits that were done to it, I figured, yeah, okay, this is a good Bond theme. I'm not going to say it's the greatest Bond theme ever, but it's fine. It'll do. And I was even more surprised when it won an Oscar. I think surprised. Nobody expected Writings on the Wall to win the Oscar for Best Song, but it did. So that's now 2 Bond themes that have won Oscars, which I think is pretty cool. Although Sam Smith then had to embarrass himself in his acceptance speech when he said, "Yeah, I'm the first gay composer to win an Oscar, and actually you're not, because there was Howard Ashman who co-wrote some of those Disney theme songs from the classic animated themes, and he was, I think, the first gay composer to win. So Sam Smith got his information."
And another thing about Sam Smith, when he was writing the song and when the song was released, he said, "Oh yeah, it was great. I basically did it in 20 minutes." And I don't know if that was intended to be a sort of arrogant comment, but it ended up looking as though he was being really big-headed about it and said, "Oh look, I finished this in 20 minutes." And then a lot of people did react quite negatively to the song at first, but like us, I think when people saw it with the sequence in the film, they thought, oh, okay, yeah, it's definitely a little bit better, but it was never going to be as good as Skyfall. I'm amazed it won an Oscar as well, but I don't think it had a lot of competition, to be fair. So hopefully this time they can make it a hat trick. I mean, whoever does it, just be good. I mean, there's so many people that could do it. I mean, Ariana Grande could probably do it. Rita Ora is someone who's been up for consideration. I mean, we probably won't find out until the new year. I would imagine in January 2020 we'll probably find out who's going to do the song, but I don't know sort of how far into post-production they are. I'm assuming they're editing the film at the moment, but yeah. So I mean, something to look forward to.
Sure. Gee, I mean, who could possibly do it? I mean, I'm trying to come up with some names, and I can't really think of anything. There's this new girl who's like super red hot right now in the music industry, and I've only just heard of her and only just looked her up. I think her name is it Billie Eilish? Billie Eilish? Do I have her name right? I mean, she's popular.
I'm afraid I've never heard of her.
Huh?
I've never heard of her, to be honest.
Are you sure? Because she had a huge hit over in Britain. I mean, she's really, really huge right now. But I only just looked her up the other day online, and I watched one of her music videos and thought, okay, she's interesting. But
do you know what the name of the song was?
Let's see. I'm trying to let me see. Do I have her name right? Do I have her name right here? Billie Eilish or Billie Eilish is her name, and she had a huge, had a #1 hit, and she's only like 17. That's the thing. But I don't know. Anyway, look her up. Billie Eilish is her name, but apparently she's popular in Britain too. I was surprised to discover, but I hadn't heard until just the other day.
Yeah.
She's doing all these on talk shows and things. she might be good to do a Bond theme, maybe.
Maybe. I mean, would you like to see a band do it? Maybe a band could do it.
Oh, I'm thinking is there a band that hasn't done a Bond theme yet? I mean, I did get my wish on one occasion. Where back in the '90s, I thought to myself, I really think the band Garbage could do a great Bond theme because I love Garbage. I'm a big fan. I love Shirley Manson. She's a terrific front woman. And well, they got to do the theme for The World Is Not Enough. So that was a dream fulfilled. Seeing Garbage do a Bond theme. But as far as bands who haven't done a Bond theme as of yet, most of my music taste leans towards, acts from the 60s, the 70s. As far as the newer crowd goes, I mean, some of the newer bands that I like, who are later, the 90s or whatever. Gee, I don't think they would suit Bond music.
I mean, there was obviously, like, imagine if Queen were still around, they could have done a great Bond theme. But
easily, if Freddie was still around, sure, they would have been great.
Yeah,
I mean, that great theme tune they did for Flash Gordon, Flash.
Yeah, Flash Gordon's an interesting film. But yeah, no, I mean, ABBA could have done a good Bond theme, but yeah, I think it's too late for them now, isn't it?
Yeah. So I think it's just going to be a surprise because, again, I'm more familiar with the older acts of the 60s and 70s, the newer crowd. I mean, there's a band I really love called Fleet Foxes, but they're more like folk rock. So no way would they fit as doing music for a Bond theme. They would probably never be asked. No chance they would ever be asked to do it. Yeah, I don't know. It's all I can say is surprise me. Whoever you're going to have do the Bond, surprise me. I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, all the other acts I can think of are females. I mean, maybe Lana Del Rey. I know I've heard a little bit of her music. Maybe she would do a good job on a Bond theme.
Well, she has actually been. She's been one of the rumors. Actually, someone has like picked her in as a rumor to do the theme. So maybe she might do it. You never know.
Or who was that young lady who sang that huge song Royals? It could be Royals. Da, 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 da. Yeah, that song.
Royal. Oh, is that Ellie Goulding?
No. Although Ellie Goulding would be a good choice. She was rumored to have done the theme for Spectre, although that turned out to be false.
Was it Dua Lipa?
Let's see. Hold on. Who did the song Royals? Oh, Lorde. That's her name.
Oh, Lorde. Yes. Sorry. Yeah, Lorde is a rumor. Yeah, that's definitely. Yeah.
Okay, I could see her doing it. I mean, that's the only song by her I know. That's the song by her everybody knows. But she might be able to do a good Bond theme. Maybe.
Yeah. You imagine like that voice with "No Time to Die." I mean, presumably there will be the song will be called "No Time to Die." So, yeah.
Oh yeah, I mean, yeah, I can easily hear "No Time to Die" being slotted into the lyrics. That's definitely a easy title to put into a Bond theme. Yeah.
I mean, yeah, much easier than Spectre.
They work in the private sector.
Have you met my friend Hector? He works for Spectre.
Don't be a defector working for Spectre. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, it's fun coming up with themes. But yeah, I mean, the theme song still remains a mystery at this point. But yeah, I mean, to me, that's kind of basically all I've wanted to cover in this hangout. Is there anything else that you want to say in regards to No Time to Die?
Well, actually, just one, and I think it might be an appropriate thing to end our hangout with the fact that that apparently No Time to Die will, in fact, be Daniel Craig's final James Bond movie, even though they've been saying that for quite a while now. But for those who still don't believe it, Daniel Craig recently confirmed that, yes, this is indeed my last James Bond movie. I think he's quoted as saying that he feels now that he's done 5 Bond movies that it's time to let another actor have a go at the role. And
Yeah.
yeah, so what do you think about that?
Well, I mean, to be honest, I think people are stupid because he said this back 2 years ago, over 2 years ago, when he announced he was coming back for one more. Stephen Colbert asked him, "Are you going to do the one after this?" And he's like, "No, no, no, no. This is it. This is it. I just want to go out on a high note, and I can't wait." So surely that says it all. But people were still being dubious, like, "Oh, maybe Barbara Broccoli will get him back for Bond 26." But no, no, he said he wasn't going to do any more, and I believe him. I mean, he is my Daniel Craig. I have said this before. Is my favorite James Bond of all the six. He's my favorite. His era totally reinvented the series, and I just want him to have the best exit. To be honest, I really do. I mean, there have been significant gaps between his movies, but still, good things come to those who wait. I just loved seeing his Bond journey as a character. And I really think, yeah, maybe now is a good time to stop. I mean, he's in his 50s, for God's sake. You can tell he's physically finding it harder to do all of the physical stuff. But also, don't forget, people, Daniel Craig gets heavily involved in the creative process. He acts as a co-producer, and he got his credit for that in Spectre. In all the movies, he's been in the meetings with them. He's given his ideas. He wanted to have his input. He didn't just want to be the actor that comes in and plays Bond and then goes home. But so I appreciate his dedication, and I know that he made that derogatory comment about slashing his wrists. But look, the guy needed a break. He just finished filming. Spectre, and clearly that was taken out of context. Yeah, he shouldn't have said it, but the point was, I guess he was getting frustrated with I mean, because Bond is a big thing to take on. You got to be prepared to deal with the press, and it's more than just making the movie because they're such big movies. I mean, he is arguably the most popular James Bond, and he's definitely the most financially successful James Bond. So I think this film is going to be one of the biggest events in cinema. People will be queuing outside the doors to see this film. And he began in 2006 and he will end in 2020. So 14 years, but only 5 movies. That's still quite an achievement, though, because these movies are very special. Even Quantum of Solace to a certain degree, and for the most part, his era has been pretty consistent. I mean, yeah, so really well about Quantum of Solace. I mean, I don't mind Quantum of Solace. I think it's decent, but I do agree it's his worst movie out of the bunch. I'll be stunned if No Time to Die is worse than Quantum of Solace. I really will be. But I think we're in safe hands. But I really do feel like now is the right time for him to go. I think he's made the right choice. Also, because he has a family as well. He's got a new kid and he wants to spend more time with his family. That's understandable. He'll still be acting. He'll still do other work. There was this rumor about him directing Bond 26, but he's immediately shot that down and he said, no, for God's sake, I want to go home and have a life, because directors have to be up most of the time. So I'm glad he's made the decision. I mean, I will miss him as Bond. I really would. I mean, I could see him go on forever, but I mean, that's, I know deep down that there was going to be a time when he would quit and he would finish, and he's been in the role longer than pretty much any other actor in the role, except the gaps between his films have been bigger. So yeah, he's stayed in the role longer than Roger Moore, but he's had less films. So yeah, there is that argument of who actually has the longest era, but I mean that doesn't matter to me.
Yeah.
So yeah, I will miss Daniel Craig, but I am interested to see the next guy, in the hope that it is actually a guy.
Right.
which I'm sure it. Well, I'm pretty confident it will
better be. It better be.
Better be. So whoever Craig's successor is, they have a very tough act to follow, and I think the Bond series is gonna struggle without Craig. But I think they will have to find a way to make it work. One thing I will say though, if I really want them to keep the MI6 regulars, if they keep them, that would be great. I don't want to have a new M. I don't want a new Moneypenny. I don't want a new Q. Because we've only had them for 2 films. Well, 3 films if you want to include No Time to Die. So to recast them after 3 movies, that would be terrible. I mean, yes, for the Brosnan era, that was different because, well, no one liked Die Another Day. Let's be real. They only kept Judi Dench because, well, it's Judi Dench. You can't not have Judi Dench as M. and that worked.
Right.
I mean, despite the fact that it's a new timeline, that worked just fine. So even if they do have to reboot and start again and do a new timeline, I'm okay with that. Just keep the MI6 regulars because they are so good. I think all three of them are really, really good, and I don't want to see them go. Like Ben Whishaw, especially, I think is very good as Q. Completely reinvented the character. I mean, obviously, no one will ever top Desmond, but Ben Whishaw,
Right.
he has, to me, he is the second best Q of the entire franchise, which is great. And I'm glad that they all got more to do Inspector. So clearly, they're trying to give them bigger parts, because I don't want to see Moneypenny behind the desk all the time. I don't want to see M in the office all the time. People criticize that plot Inspector, but I was thinking, well, why? Because it gave them more to do. So I'm hoping No Time to Die will give them more to do as well. But yeah, as for Daniel Craig, yeah, it's the right choice. It's the right time to go, but just don't kill him off, please. Thank you.
Exactly. As for me, I mean, I agree with you all the way. I mean, Daniel Craig, God bless him, that he's hung around as long as he has. I mean, Roger Moore has more movies, but Daniel Craig will have held the role for the longest amount of time. So, yeah, the argument of who played Bond the longest depends on how you look at it, Roger Moore or Daniel Craig. But either way, I tip my hat to both of them, of course. I mean, never forget the late, great Roger Moore. He was a great Bond.
I'm sorry. One more thing. In regards to Roger, I hope they dedicate this film to him. I know he passed away a few years ago, but I want to see in the credits in memory of Sir Roger Moore. Thank you. Sorry.
Sure. No, that would be great. That would be great because, yeah, he passed away after Spectre was released, right?
I believe so, yes. Yeah.
A couple of years ago. Yeah. Okay. So he was still around when Spectre was released. So, yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, I mean, the first James Bond that we've lost, sadly, although I'm sure it was bound to happen at some point. Although I'm happy that Roger Moore, he lived a very long, very happy life, and that we had him as long as we did. And I think it makes perfect sense to dedicate No Time to Die to him. And you're right. I hope they do. That's an excellent idea, and I hope they do that. As for Daniel Craig, I mean, I agree. I think it is time for him to step down after No Time to Die, because, I mean, this is his fifth Bond movie, fifth one in 14 years. He's 51 years old. He'll be 52 by the time No Time to Die is released. I think he is starting to show his age now. I mean, if you just look at that teaser poster with him, I mean, he looks good for a man of his age, of course, but he is starting to show his age now. And as you say, James Bond, it's a very, very physical role. I think every single actor who has played James Bond has gotten injured in some form or another. I mean, even George Lazenby, I think, got a few bruises doing only Bond movies. So you don't get to play James Bond without getting bruised up a bit, because most likely will be. I can totally understand Craig wanting to step down at this point. It probably is a good time for him to step down. I mean, I love him as James Bond. He's my second favorite James Bond, second only to Sean Connery. But I don't think I want to see him playing Bond when he's in his late 50s or his 60s. I don't think it's believable that any MI6 agent should be out in the field when they're in their late 50s. Yeah,
I mean, actually, the fact is, what they're doing is they're giving him a retirement angle. So in the movie, his Bond is retiring and settling down because he's getting older, and I guess it's only appropriate, really, when you look at it.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, it makes perfect sense to me. And also, I mean, 5 films. I mean, my goodness, that's a more than respectable number of Bond.
I mean, considering the fact that also in Casino Royale, we basically started with him beginning, like he became Bond by the end of the movie. He just got his 007 status. So I guess that's another reason why in this movie they're giving his status to someone else, because he is retiring. So it's like they're trying to bring it full circle over the 5 movies, which they've never done before. With any of the other actors, they've never had the continuity. They've just had individual adventures that don't really connect all that much. So it's nice that Craig's movies, like Spectre, made the point of connecting all the films subtly, and it did it rather well. So I'm looking forward to see how this one plays out. But yeah, and also it's nice that each of the actors have a different number of films. Like obviously Connery has 6, if not counting Never Say Never Again. Lazenby has 1, Roger Moore has 7, Dalton has 2, Brosnan has 4, and now Craig has 5. So I think it's nice. I think it's nice. So maybe the next guy will have 3. I mean, who knows? He may only have 3 films, but I mean, whoever his successor is, he's got a tough act to follow.
It is a tough act to follow, but I mean, I think every single actor who's taken on the role has given it his all. I mean, even the Bonds who didn't last for very long, the 2 biggies being Lazenby and Dalton, who didn't hang around the role for very long. But you know, I mean, say what you want about George Lazenby, and he only did 1, but I really do think, for a guy who had no prior acting experience, really, I think he did the best work that he could do. You know, I personally like him as Bond. I certainly won't say he's the best Bond, but I thought for that 1 movie he was a good Bond. And by the way, this year is the 50th anniversary of On Her Majesty's Secret Service, and I know George Lazenby took a little trip around the world, or he did a trip overseas recently. He was promoting it on his Facebook page, to celebrate the 50th anniversary of the film. And I say happy anniversary to you, George. And Timothy Dalton only got to do 2 movies, which is a shame, because he was also a very good Bond, and I liked what he did, even though he did not turn out to be one of the most popular of the Bonds, unfortunately. But I mean,
Dalton has become more popular since Daniel Craig. So I guess at the time people weren't really ready for that big change, because after 12 years of Roger Moore, it was quite a big change to go more serious. I mean, especially with License to Kill, which kind of really just went a bit far, really, and it was almost like James Bond meets Miami Vice, which just didn't work.
Yeah. Exactly, or as our friend Jack remarked, it felt like a gangster film. It was like it was 007 meets a gangster movie, I also think that it was a little too violent for a Bond movie. It was a little too gritty, and as you say, being that it came out in 1989, oh my goodness, 30 years ago. Has it really been 30 years? Wow. I think the timing just wasn't right for a gritty Bond movie. But
that being said, if it was made today, it wouldn't have had the same reaction.
Probably, yeah. It probably would have been received a bit better today if it had come out now. Yeah, you're probably right about that. But Dalton, he still gave it his best shot, and he was still a fine James Bond. I like very much what he did. I do think Living Daylights is better, but I think his performance in both movies was very good. But Daniel Craig, I mean, he really did reinvent the role, and he brought James Bond back from the brink. I mean, the last one with Brosnan, Die Another Day, was still a box office success, but I think everybody looks back upon it as a terrible Bond movie. And that's been 20 years. Hard to believe it's been 20 years since that movie was made, but they were actually running it on one of the streaming channels that I get here in America called Pluto TV, which I'm sorry you guys don't have it in the UK, but yeah, we get Pluto TV here in America. And just the other night they were playing Die Another Day. I only watched a few minutes of it and I turned it off because it was so bad. That's a Bond movie that definitely has not aged well. I'm sorry to say, but I still have great affection for the first 2 that Brosnan did. But Craig's movies overall have been great. The only one I didn't care for was Quantum of Solace, because again, that movie I felt was a rush job. It was made while there was a writer's strike going on. At the time.
I think it would have been better to release Quantum of Solace in 2009. Give it a year, but delay it. I think that would have been better.
Yeah, because they just rushed into production for that movie when the script wasn't finished. So that meant Daniel Craig and the director, Mark Forster, who I really do believe was not the right choice to direct a Bond movie. They had to write some scenes themselves or improvise some of the themselves.
But I think Martin Campbell should have stayed. I don't know why Martin Campbell didn't stay and direct Quantum of Solace. That would have made it better.
Exactly. So that Bond movie, I don't think was what it could have been. It's far and away my least favorite of Daniel Craig's Bond movies, but that's not Daniel Craig's fault. I blame that the script was a rush job. It wasn't even finished, and they rushed into production when the movie clearly was not ready to go into production.
Yeah.
But all his other Bond movies so far, I thought have been great, and I will defend Spectre to my very last breath that that's a great Bond movie, even if
Same.
Skyfall is admittedly a better movie. I just think Skyfall raised the bar so high
Yeah.
the following movie that Spectre just didn't meet a lot of people's expectations, and so they wrote it off as a bad film. But I'm telling you, I don't see anything bad about Spectre at all. I think it's a great Bond film.
I mean, I can understand some people's reservations. Like, okay, yeah, maybe Monica Bellucci wasn't in it very much. Maybe the Foster brother plot wasn't the best. Maybe Blofeld wasn't in it enough, but it was still great for me. I still really liked it.
Me too. And also I give Spectre credit that it's the longest of the Bond movies. It's 2.5 hours. I think it's a little bit longer than On Her Majesty's Secret Service was. And I wasn't bored at all. Not one bit. I didn't think the film lagged whatsoever. I was thoroughly entertained. It's just a damn shame that everybody who criticized it had to compare it to Skyfall. You know, it's Skyfall. Skyfall came up in all the reviews of Spectre, and I got really tired of reading that. Got tired of hearing that.
I mean, I think it's nice that Sam Mendes came back as well. So, I mean, he needed persuading to come back apparently, and Craig persuaded him to do Spectre. So, yeah, I guess I'm glad that Mendes came back, but obviously Mendes felt that he was done after Spectre. So we'll see what Cary Fukunaga's direction is like. But yeah, I agree. Skyfall really just was a game changer. I mean, it was what the series needed, and it was a perfect 50th anniversary present. And I think it did actually erase people's minds of Quantum of Solace. And it was 4 years. They had to wait 4 years for that movie. We've had to wait even longer for No Time to Die. So, you know.
Skyfall is a masterpiece. And, of course, we have to say Craig's debut, Casino Royale, also a masterpiece. That was also a game changer. Because following Die Another Day, it's like Bond was put on this cartoon wheel. The character had become cartoonish by Die Another Day, and it was time to put Bond in a realistic, gritty Bond film. That this time around in 2006, people were ready for a change, and Craig and you know, lots of people were making fun of Craig and said, "Oh, this guy isn't James Bond. Oh, he's blonde. He's got big ears. He doesn't look like James Bond." Blah 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 blah, and saying they were going to boycott the movie. And then the movie was finally released to all this magnificent critical acclaim, and the box office on it was great. And all those people who criticized Craig even before the movie came out, they all shut the hell up.
They were like, "Oh, wow, he was actually really good."
Yeah, and the movie was actually really good.
Yeah. And that's the thing. Casino Royale did the impossible thing of not only rebooting the Bond franchise, not only introducing a new Bond, not only was a great movie, but it actually made a card game compelling. And I was amazed. I'm still amazed at how good those scenes are.
Yes, it did. The way it was shot, the way it was directed. Because a card game in a movie can be very, very boring. But I mean, Bond and Lashif going at it at the card table, it was just so well done. And also directing a card game, I mean, they had to be meticulous about how the cards were dealt in the packs and what order the cards were. I mean, Martin Campbell and company had to be precise about which cards were where whenever they shot a moment in the card game. I mean, they were that meticulous.
Continuity is everything.
Yeah, the tension was there, the drama was there, the stakes were definitely high between the two men, and it was exciting. I mean, wow, they made a card game exciting. Who would thunk it? You know?
And it was genuinely great because it you know, you really understood Bond from an emotional point of view. and you can understand why he becomes Bond because of Vesper and the betrayal, and how he starts off as this kind of arrogant prick basically, and then he realizes that he can't trust anyone, and he just emotionally shuts down. And I thought the ending was just so powerful when they have the big climactic fight in the house, and then Vesper dies, and it's all very tragic. But the end of the movie is perfect when he says the name's Bond, James Bond. Perfect. I mean, I wonder whether they'll have a similar thing for No Time to Die. Maybe they'll end the movie with him saying Bond, James Bond. That would be
nice. That'd be a nice touch, and I hope they say. I hope M says to him, "Welcome back to MI6, 007."
Yeah, I mean, essentially, he said that in Skyfall at the end when he says, "Lots of work. Are you ready to get back to work?" He says, "With pleasure, M. With pleasure." So that was good. But also, I've heard the gun barrel for No Time to Die will be at the beginning of the film, which is good. Thank you, Cary. Thank you.
Yes, exactly. I definitely want to see the gun barrel at the beginning of the movie. That was weird in Quantum of Solace. They stuck it at the end.
Yeah, and the gun barrel, it was too fast. Like, Craig was walking too fast, and then it zoomed out into the logo, which was odd. For Skyfall, it worked because it faded into the 50 years thing, and it wouldn't have worked with the opening shot of the movie. But I'm glad Spectre put it back at the beginning, which is where it belongs.
No, I think they will. I think they will, and I'm looking forward to seeing that, definitely. But yeah, I mean, Daniel Craig, man, overall, he's had a great run. Certainly, 3 of his 4 Bond movies so far are all terrific Bond movies, and yes, I am including Spectre because I really enjoyed Spectre. And he's been a magnificent Bond. I mean, he really went against all the people who thought that he couldn't do it, and he emerged victorious in this part, and he wound up being one of the very best Bonds that ever has been. And the majority of his era is great stuff. I mean, I think I rank 3 of his 4 Bond movies in my personal top 10. Because I think the majority of his Bond films are so good, and I have every faith that he's going to get a fantastic send-off with No Time to Die. I'm very, very confident that this is going to be a great James Bond movie. I just hope and pray that Bond is allowed to live at the end. I'm sure he will be, and I'm also confident he's going to get his 007 number back at the end of the film. I bet you Lashana Lynch's character will also live, because I think killing her off would piss off the feminists out there. She'll probably, but just assign her a different 00 number. I'll be fine with that. She can even be 008. That's fine. As long as Bond gets back 007, happy ending for me. But I just think that Craig, he has done wonders for the James Bond film franchise, and then some. So
I said this in my review. Casino Royale was like the best CPR ever. Like, Die Another Day sunk the series so low. Never before had it gone further down, and yet Casino Royale rose it back up to glory. So thank you, Daniel Craig. He really has kept the franchise going, and I agree. Spectre is great, and I rank it in my top 10 as well. So I hope No Time to Die is in a similar vein. But I am curious to know about the 3 endings. Like, what? Obviously, I don't really want to have spoilers, but at some point, obviously when the films come out, I'm curious to know what the 3 endings would have been. Maybe they'll have deleted scenes on the Blu-ray or something, which will be nice.
So has it been reported that they shot 3 different endings? Is that what you're saying?
Yes, yeah. Cary Fukunaga announced that he shot 3 different endings for the film, and one of which will be the end. So they're obviously debating about what the ending will be. I mean, I haven't, he didn't say what they were, but I mean, everybody has their theories, right? So I don't know.
Y'all know what the worst ending for the movie would be, so don't go in that direction. Please don't.
God, hopefully not. I mean, again, if they do that, then they've shot themselves in the foot by calling the film No Time to Die. So, but
and also it has to be said, if they do go with that, the the feared ending of Bond dying, which I highly doubt that's going to happen now. But if they were to make that terrible mistake, I mean, literally, Barbara Broccoli would be going back on her word, about because I mean the subject that she was dealt with was whether or not a woman would be cast as James Bond, and I mean to kill off James Bond and replace him with another agent, even if her name is not James Bond, but she's going to carry on the 007 number, that's just as bad. That's just as bad, even if her name isn't James. It's going to be the 007 film franchise with a woman as 007. As you and I have already said, we don't mind it for one single movie as long as Bond gets his 007 number back at the end of the film. But if they were to go in that direction, that the new 007 going forward is a woman, then that's it. I'm out.
Yeah, I highly doubt that's going to happen, and I cannot imagine that. I really don't want to imagine that because it just makes me worried. But yeah. I am curious to think about the ending. Like, I think potentially Madeline might die in the climax or at some point in the movie. Bond will obviously defeat the villains and do whatever, or maybe with a cost. So maybe he defeats them at the cost of Madeline's death or someone's death, and then he comes back into the office. And I mean, he is old, so then again, there is the possibility that he could go back into retirement again. But I think it's more likely that he would get his 007 status back, and then, you know, maybe there'll be this whole thing of, oh, welcome back, Bond, James Bond, you know, I say, you know, they'll never forget my name, Bond, James Bond, or something like that. I mean,
right.
I don't know. I mean, he is old. I mean, he's older now, so there's every chance that, you know, maybe Lashana Lynch quits MI6, maybe at the end. Maybe she quits MI6 and gives Bond his status back, rather than kill her off, which, yeah, would probably piss off a lot of people. So, yeah, there is a chance that maybe, I mean, if she lives, then she'll just say, you know, this life is not for me anymore. I can't do this. You can have your 007 name back. So.
or maybe she could be the one who gives Bond his 007 number back. You know, just out of kindness and respect. You know, you're back at MI6. You were 007 before me, so you can have it back. And then they'll assign her to be 008 or another 00 number, and that would be fine with me. I would be perfectly content with that ending. You know, she can be a 00 agent. I don't have a problem with that. I just don't want her to be 007 at the end of the film. You know, I want Bond to be 007, as he damn well should be.
Yeah. And also, in regards to the villains, do you think that Blofeld could die in the film? Or, I mean, obviously it's likely that Safin will probably die, but do you think Blofeld will die?
It's possible. It's possible, but I don't know. I mean, you never know with a villain like Blofeld, who always seems to find a way to come back. I mean, we thought he was killed off at the beginning of For Your Eyes Only, even though we never saw his face, but it's obviously Blofeld. Who else could it be? But we saw him fall down a smokestack or something like that. So you'd think that would have been the end of Blofeld, and then he comes back in this new timeline, Inspector. So I'm not sure Blofeld's actually going to die in this. I mean, maybe, but I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised if they find a way to bring Blofeld back in the future. That wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah, I mean, either way, I think we can assume that Christoph Waltz will not play Blofeld again after this film. This will be probably his last appearance. But that being said, he's actually broken the curse of an actor playing Blofeld who's only appeared in one movie. He's actually now the first to appear in 2 films. So I'm happy about that.
Yeah, me too. Me too. And he's a great actor besides. He's won a couple of Oscars as well. So, you know, it'd be nice to see him reprise the role one more time, even if it's just a smaller supporting role. But that would be fine. I'm happy to see him in the film. No problem.
Yeah, I mean, they have outright said that No Time to Die is a continuation and wrap up of Skyfall and Spectre, but obviously the entire Craig era. So
Yeah.
We'll see. I mean, hopefully it's going to be quite. I reckon quite an emotional Bond movie. So I reckon there might be some casualties in the movie. So
Mm.
I think that the odds of Madeline dying are very likely. I don't know when though. I can't say when she'll die. I reckon maybe she might die towards the end, but I'm just assuming. It's really hard to say. But
Yeah.
I like the choices of location as well. Like we've got Norway, Jamaica, Italy. Actually, funny enough, Italy has been used in all but one of the Craig movies. So Skyfall is the only Craig movie that doesn't go to Italy. Because in Casino Royale you have Venice, Quantum of Solace you're in Siena, and Spectre you're in Rome, and obviously No Time to Die you're in Matera at the beginning. So I find that interesting how Italy's become quite a popular location for Bond.
Yeah, a popular location, but I always enjoy seeing it in a Bond movie. Sure, sure.
Oh yeah.
I'm also of Italian heritage, so it's nice to see Italy pop up.
Oh wow, I never knew that. Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, on my father's side, yeah.
Oh, that's brilliant. Another thing, they shot some scenes in Scotland as well. So, I mean, there are chances that they could go back to Skyfall, or at least the ruins of Skyfall, maybe. So clearly, this movie will probably go back into Bond's past in some way or another. Or maybe the Skyfall thing is maybe just a fan service thing, but I think it's more to do with the plot, to be honest. Would you like to see them revisit Skyfall?
Sure. Although it's probably safe to say, yeah, it would just be the ruins, or maybe it would just be the land, or something like that, because it blows up, and before it blows up, we see Bond say, I've always hated this place, or something like that. So he has no affection for the place whatsoever. So it would probably either still be in ruins, or maybe it would just be just the land, just sitting by itself, or maybe Bond or the gamekeeper Kincaid sold the land to somebody else, and now there's a new house standing in there. But if he revisits the area of Skyfall, I mean, sure, I wouldn't mind that at all. It would make sense too. Another thing that would help bring Daniel Craig's era full circle, I guess.
Yeah. Also, speaking of Kincaid, the actor Albert Finney sadly passed away. I think last year he passed away,
Yeah.
or earlier this year. I can't remember the exact date, but yeah. So I mean, maybe they'll put his name in the credits as well. That would be nice.
Possibly, and I wouldn't be surprised if Bond does revisit Skyfall. It may be they may also include that Kincaid has passed away.
Yeah. So they might have his grave maybe next to Bond's parents, which would be interesting.
That would make sense, though, if they do revisit Skyfall. Sure.
Yeah, and also, I mean, hopefully we'll get some good humor as well. I mean, especially if they brought in Phoebe Waller-Bridge to spice up the script. So I think she's known for writing comedy as well. So hopefully that's good.
Yeah, if the script has her touch on it, then I'm sure it's going to be fine. I mean, I'm sure the original script was good already, but if they brought her in, to polish it up, then I'm sure anything that she adds to it will only be a good thing. Because I only know her from her motion capture work in Solo, but I do know that how revered she is as both a writer and actress, and on the show Fleabag and some of the other work that she's done. So apparently she's definitely got a talent for writing, and I'm sure her work on the script, whatever work it is, will be good work. And I think women in the audience will definitely be pleased with what they see in the women who are in the film and how they are portrayed. So
yes,
win-win.
Exactly, yeah. And also, it's worth mentioning that apparently she's impressed the team so much that they're already lining her up to write Bond 26. So that would be interesting if she's like the main writer for the next film with the new guy. So to see how she writes for another Bond will be interesting. But yeah, she's clearly made a very valid contribution.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not opposed at all to a woman writing the script for a Bond movie. Phoebe Waller-Bridge seems to understand the Bond character. I mean, I was kind of sold on her just in some of the interview bits I've read of her saying that Bond doesn't have to change with the times. The women in the Bond movies need to change, but Bond doesn't have to. And I'm glad she understands that. That she has no intention of trying to turn Bond woke, because she knows perfectly well that wouldn't work. That goes against the character and how he is. And I thought they explained quite clearly in Casino Royale once and for all why James Bond is the way that he is with women, because I mean he got his heart crushed into a million pieces by Vesper and her betrayal, even though we were also given the reason why she was forced to betray him. It's not that she wanted to, but she was forced to. But he got his heart broken into a million pieces, and that's why he's been very hesitant to fall in love again. Although Madeline manages to win his heart, which was nice to see. But I mean, I think Casino Royale pretty much set up the character of why he is the way he is, and so I'm glad Phoebe Waller-Bridge understands that, and I would not be opposed to her writing Bond 26. I'm sure she could do a really good job on it. I mean, it might help to have a screenwriter there with her to share the adventure in writing it, so it's not entirely her responsibility. But sure, if she was to have a big hand in writing the next Bond script, sure, why not? I'm sure she would do a good job.
Yeah, I think so too. But I think it's likely that Neil Purvis and Robert Wade will probably return for Bond 26. I mean, I mean they've been with the series since Brosnan, so I think it would be silly to let them go now. But unless they decide they don't want to do it, but we'll see. I mean, Bond 26 is a way away, and that's another thing with Bond 26. This is very unlikely, but wouldn't you just love it to come out in 2022, like late 2022, for the 60th anniversary? It's unlikely, but I would love that. But they'd have to start it straight away after No Time to Die, and they would have to film it within the year, basically.
Yeah, I would love that too. I think that would be great, but as you say, they would be really, really under the gun to, first of all, they have to get a new Bond first and foremost, and they have to get a new Bond right away, like right after No Time to Die comes out, which kind of takes the spotlight off of Daniel Craig in his final performance as Bond. But yeah, recast Bond immediately, start writing it immediately, and then shoot it immediately, all in the name of getting it out for the 60th anniversary in 2022. I'm not sure they could make it. I don't know. I think that'd be asking way too much out of everybody, unless they've got a script ready to go right now. Then that takes one burden off them. But I don't think they have a script for Bond 26 as of yet. So I would love to see it, but it probably won't happen because there's just not enough time to get it together.
Yeah, I mean, that being the case, I mean, assuming that, say, if it all goes well with No Time to Die, they ask Cary to stay and direct, they ask Phoebe to write, they get the new Bond quick enough. I mean, it's possible, but they would have to. It would almost be a rush job, really. So, yeah, in the event that there isn't going to be a film for the 60th anniversary, like, what would you like to see instead? Because they can't do nothing. It's the 60th anniversary, so. I mean, had No Time to Die not been delayed so much, they could have done it. But it just would have been, I mean, it would have been with someone new anyway, so who knows how it would have turned out.
Yeah, well, they should do something. They always have the option of re-releasing the Bond films and yet another edition, like another deluxe box set, if they want to. They can have, contests, win a trip to Jamaica or win a trip to this, win an Aston Martin or something to celebrate the 60th. But yeah, to get Bond 26 ready in just 2 years, unless they've already got a script already written right now and ready to go. I just think that'd be asking too much out of them. But they could re-release the Bond movies in a deluxe box set yet again if they want to, and then say special 60th anniversary box set or something.
Yeah, that would be nice. Or re-release them in the cinema, like in the movie theater, like screen like each of them like over the year. That would be nice. That would make up for not having a new film. But
sure, do that too. Sure, that's another idea. Definitely.
I mean, I'm sure there'll be some big events and stuff, but yeah, I don't know what they'll do because it is obviously, the time is very tight. I mean, at least No Time to Die, it's coming out early 2020, like April. It's still pretty early. So if they got to work on it right away, they might, but they might have to release Bond 26 at Christmas 2022 if they were to do it. But then again, they've got to do it well. They can't rush it. So I think you're right. I don't think we'll get it by then, but it would be nice to think. I mean, at least as long as we get it not within 5 years, then that's fine. I think it would be nice to have it in 3 years at least. Like 2023 would be the next time, ideally, really.
That's probably the earliest we would see the next Bond movie after No Time to Die, probably in a 3-year time. That would be my guess.
Yeah, because I don't know when they'll start casting the new guy, so it would likely be after the release of No Time to Die, maybe even a few months afterwards. So probably summer 2020, they might consider auditioning the new guy. So I don't know.
I mean, after No Time to Die is released, they can start writing it. They might want to hold off on casting the new Bond until 2021. Let's let 2020 be Daniel Craig's final year of glory playing James Bond, and then when 2021 rolls around, now we can start thinking about recasting the role and start auditioning actors. Meanwhile, the script can be already written or in progress of being written, and they can start making plans for it. So if they time it that way, we could see Bond 26 in 2023 at the earliest, I'd say.
Yeah,
my guess.
And I mean, I would be happy if Cary Fukunaga stayed to direct. I think, if No Time to Die proves to be a success, then it's a safe bet. Why not? Keep him on, and then I'm sure he's not going to have anything else planned. So, yeah,
Sure.
if that works out, then I'm happy with that. I mean, because Sam Mendes stayed for Spectre, so anything's possible.
Sure.
But I mean, unless they want to get a new director for a new Bond, but then again, John Glenn directed Roger Moore and Timothy Dalton, so anything is possible.
Sure. Heck, bring back Martin Campbell. That would be fine.
Yeah, Martin Campbell directed both Brosnan and Craig's first entries into the series, GoldenEye and Casino Royale. Two very different films, though, but both equally good in their own way. I like GoldenEye. I do like it, but it's just a bit weird for me. I'll have to rewatch it and reassess it, but it's definitely my favorite of the Brosnan films.
I've always loved GoldenEye. It's in my top 10, but I thought Martin Campbell really, really outdid himself with Casino Royale. I mean, wow, what a movie!
Oh yeah, it was just incredible.
Yeah, one of the very best of the best Bond movies. It's way up there for me, definitely.
I just hope that with the next Bond, they don't lose the whole do it for real process, because with Craig, they definitely initiated much more emphasis on practical effects and stunts, less CGI. I think if they can keep that same philosophy, the series will stay alive. If they start copping out with CGI, then it's it's not going to be as much. James Bond doesn't need as much CGI as other franchises. So, all the Craig movies have CGI when necessary, but very rarely. There's only a few shots of CGI.
Cross the line with Die Another Day. They made Bond a CGI character. No. Don't ever do that again. Shame on you for doing that.
Oh god, that windsurfing scene.
Surfing off the ice glacier. Oh god, don't do that. they use other CGI effects involving the satellite and shooting the sun rays, and it looks so fake. And the destruction of Gustav Gray's plane. It just looks so fake, so fake.
Yeah, it does indeed. God, the process.
Finished. I work on it looks unfinished, and they put it in the movie. Shame on them.
Yeah, exactly. It's terrible. So I mean, I'm sure they've learned from that. I think they spent a long time after that thinking about Casino Royale and sort of how they were going to rejuvenate the franchise. But thank God, they chose to reboot and start anew with Craig. But yeah, I mean, that's kind of, I guess, I know we've sort of gone on for 2.5 hours, but there was a fair amount to discuss. I don't really know what else to talk about in regards to No Time to Die. So is there anything you want to mention, Alan, before we finish up?
I think we've pretty much covered everything. So the only thing left to talk about is the movie itself, which I guess we will do in April, which I'm looking forward to.
Yeah.
Very much.
Also, I believe the most recent piece of news was in regards to the teaser trailer.
Oh, yeah.
The teaser trailer will come, I think, in December. They said at the same time with the release of The Rise of Skywalker, the Star Wars movie. So we might be seeing a trailer in basically, 3 weeks. So it's not too long. But hopefully in the next 3 weeks, we'll see a teaser trailer. I mean, we're just dying to see the trailer. So
yeah, no, I want to see it. I'm ready for it. Bring it on. Yeah.
I mean, because they haven't got long. The movie's out in April, and then the main trailer will have to come out in February, I would imagine.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, there was a lot of production problems in this film, so hence why they haven't got the trailer out sooner. But I'm prepared to wait. Good things come to those who wait. I really hope that this trailer is good. I really hope so.
Yeah.
But yeah. And of course, the movie is released on April the 2nd in the UK. And I think in the US, it's the 8th of April. So only a few days after.
Now you get it a week before I do. Lucky.
Yeah. So
I'll have to
joy
spread it out that.
joy of living in the UK. But yeah, that's kind of it, really. That's all I've got to mention. I can't think of anything else that I was going to say. So yeah, I think we can call that a night. So thank you very much, Alan, for joining me on this very fun podcast.
Thank you, Ollie. Thank you very much. Thank you.
You're very welcome. And yeah, stay tuned when we review the teaser trailer, probably coming in a few weeks' time. So, well, we'll see. Anyway, Thank you all for listening. And I'm Ollie. This is Alan. See you later.
Later.
Ending broad.